Yeah, I'm your Black Lex today, baby. Now you ain't never gotta like me, that shit is overrated. You need a hero to love, I'll be the villain that you hated when it's yeah, I'm your Black Lex today, baby. Now you ain't never gotta like me, that shit is overrated. You need a hero to love, I'll be the villain that you hated. When it's all said and done, you gon' love me. Me kissing babies, fucking ladies thinking of me. Cause I'm the villain, the bad guy, the one that's supposed to lose. But I'm American, baby, so the rules all skewed for me. Steal your identity, fuck up your credit for free. Police know it's stolen, but they still make you pay the fee. And you don't respect me, for real? I'm the one that's showing you what the real world is. All these backroom deals for your kids' future. My financial aid hustle keep your kids mooching. And while you motherfuckers still stupid, the Statue of Liberty married the country, divorced and now the bitch still moving. With half of the money, alimony, child support. You know what's up when I be winning in the court, cause I'm the villain, the bad guy, the numero uno, the one that y'all hate to see. Cause I'm the big dog, the head honcho, H&I-C, everybody wants to be. Damn right, I'm the villain, the bad guy, the numero uno, the one that y'all hate to see. Cause I'm the big dog, the head honcho, H&I-C, everybody wants to be. They try to tell me thou shalt not steal. In the same church they tell me Jesus white, is they for real? They try to say the land of the free, minus the slavery, plus the fact that you pay for land these folks stole for free. And you wanna be Superman. Did you forget that Lex Luthor became the president? You lacking common sense, that's why the villain lives. That's why the villain's right. They turn on Superman, man, they turn on Jesus Christ. Even the devil got teams like Arizona State, Duke, the state of Jersey. That man say you're sold and he can't get a jersey. Y'all go to church on Sunday and you claim you're worthy. That's why I got my credit and I'm charging 10%. You finish paying me and you gon' pay me triple, bitch. So why'd I be a hero when a villain gets paid? And women like paid, so the villain gets laid. So I'ma be the villain, the bad guy, the numero uno, the one that y'all hate to see. Cause I'm the big dog, the head honcho, H&I-C, everybody wants to be. Damn right, I'm the villain, the bad guy, the numero uno, the one that y'all hate to see. Cause I'm the big dog, the head honcho, H&I-C, everybody wants to be.
What's happening, y'all? It's been a heck of a week. I guess, happy, happy Thanksgiving or past Thanksgiving, whatever you want to call it, right? But if you see the title and the thumbnail, basically, this came up because when I got home from out of town, had something to do. So coming back from the airport, because we left super early, from the airport and running a couple of errands, I was looking around, just observing, people. And I'm looking and, I'm not going to say we per se, but we've talked so much about the quote unquote YNs, right? But for me, I'm looking around like, I think the men are just getting soft. They talk about the YNs, and is the mindset annoying? Yes. Is the actions annoying? Yes. But when I look around, I'm like, bro, we got too many guys out here that I don't know what y'all been doing with y'all adulthood. And then I gotta ask myself, maybe I'm just getting old and surly and becoming a hater, one of the back in my day type of people. Because that happens too. And that's why this is the question. Am I getting old or am I getting soft? Because some of y'all, I've seen too many grown men built like female volleyball players. I've seen too many grown men overly into hair and fashion. And just like when somebody say, man, you old, you got to give it up. I'm looking at these younger guys like, I know you younger than me, but you look old, like you need to give it up too. Okay? You know, how old are you? I'm 22. You look 35, you know. And me and you kind of got the same hairline, except you just put some braids on your stuff and you looking like Stevie Wonder. But part of this, it goes a little bit further because, I got a little bit of a chance to watch the thing with Oprah on her YouTube channel where they were talking about the no contact movement. I'm no contact with my parents, blah blah blah. What's up, man? And part of me listening to them, I'm listening to these people and I'm like, y'all just soft. Y'all soft. Like, I get you don't want to be disrespected. I get you have no contact, right? But what I don't get is why do you sound like you going through sobriety? I went no contact with my parents for 3 years and 2 months now. Why did you count? If there's no contact, why did you count it up? And part of what I'm getting at when I say that is, oh, you just soft and you being passive aggressive, and this is the story you tell people for you to have an excuse to pull somebody into your BS. You know, and that's speaking from a person who has done the no contact thing. But it's like, oh, everybody I didn't count the days and months. I just was like, all right, I'm done. But I say that to say because part of this, like when I'm out, I see the parents and the kids, and especially the boys, like, and then I have to ask the question, I'm in the burbs, and I've been in the burbs for a minute, and when I was a kid, young man, the stereotype was always that the burbs were soft. So when I see parents with their sons in the burbs, the sons are normally soft. You get what I'm saying? Like the little boys look like, they're gonna be, the captain of the cheerleading team. And everybody doesn't have to be like, what do you call that? Like super aggressive. That's not what I'm getting at. But at the same time, when you're looking out in society, I'm like, bro, I don't think this is good. Like, I think we got a problem here. And, since when I did the thumbnail, I put an older black man and a younger black man on there for a reason. Because part of this, I think black men are just getting increasingly soft. And I'm not too sure how this is going to end. Well, I know how this is going to end if it winds up being what I'm looking at. Because, like I said, when I was younger, the suburbs had the soft reference. And a lot of the kids in the suburbs, they actually weren't built for adult life. It might sound weird, but they had the connection, they had the network, they had the complexion for the protection or whatever. But in life, a lot of them weren't cut out to actually be good adults. So when I see this, I'm like, yo, this is not going to end well. And I take that to a phrase, a saying that people say, and I've said it before because I liked it. And it's been plenty iterations of it. So I'm gonna just go with, granddad walked, dad had a car, the grandson had a Ferrari. You know what I'm saying? And now the grandson's son, the great grandson, is gonna walk again. And basically, my answer is no. The great grandson is not gonna walk. He's gonna crash out because that's what happens a lot of times. When a kid winds up living off of let's just say the generated wealth of his father and grandfather, and he's just splurging and he runs out, and you're saying his kid is going to walk again, but his kid is going to watch his dad blow the money on himself selfishly, and that's what leads to crashing out. But because the underlying topic is the family has the resolve to do it again because it was done before. But when people get soft, no, they don't have that kind of resolve. They don't. They can't get it out. Like, if you gave it to them in the palace, they're not gonna be able to get it out the mud. Don't put that on them like that. Don't put that on them, Ricky Bobby. So what I see is a lot of the concept of people just going, yeah, we'll make it happen. And I'm like, no, you're not gonna make it happen, G. You're not gonna make it happen, because at the end of the day, what's really about to happen is you're gonna get ruined, like really ruined. And unfortunately, a lot of people won't be able to recover from this. Now, my reason for, I got other reasons for doing this. So one of them is this. Excuse me, I'm drinking tea, my bad. When we got on social media, and shout out to Edward Anderson, I was listening to him, one of his live stream not too, from a few days ago, and he was like, I don't do this for the money, I do this for the love. And that's cool. I do it for that too. But I will say this. There has been an image put out there about what masculinity is by some of the quote unquote red pill community. And a lot of people got misinformed in a sense, because there have been people in the red pill community that was just soft. They may not have blown up on social media. They may have blown up on social media, but they were soft. They are, not word, but they are soft. And who they're really catering to is a soft demographic of men that's looking for an excuse too. And this is when people might give me the, hey man, I think you just old. I think you old and you getting out of touch. And I'm like, I might be. But and here's the other thing. There's this balance between, if you're not giving the youth guidance, they're gonna make decisions based on things that you might not like or approve of, and that's very true. But in this information age, given all this information, I have to look at it like, man, you were given the information, you just gravitated to the easiest way you could find, which means you wanted to take the easy way out, which means you're soft, and which means that easy way is going to wind up crippling you and hurting you in the long run, but you don't care right now, at least. So some of the content creators that a lot of people have followed, let them make excuses for entertainment. Sometimes, even when we were talking to self-improvement kick, a lot of guys like to hear the self-improvement stuff online, but they weren't implementing self-improvement in their day-to-day life. It was like daily affirmations of a lazy man. Oh, I heard you. Kind of like people go to church. Ooh, it set in my spirit, and oh, oh my God, I feel so empowered and so manly and so masculine today. And so, what you gonna do about it? Nothing. Watch another video. Because this is what it looks like over time. Like, yeah, man, this is a trip. Is it impulsive? So if I'm in Gen X and boomers are the weakest, I don't know about that, G. I don't know about that. I can't. But you know what? I tell you what. What if I'll put the link in the chat for me? I'll put the link in the chat if you want to discuss this, and if that's cool with you. Because like you see the title, am I getting old or getting soft? If you want to pop up and we can hash some of this out, I'm cool with that, fam. I really am. So just let me know. Because some of these hard times we created, yes. Yeah. But some of this stuff is self-sabotage too. You know what I'm saying? So like and here's the other thing. I think, and I hate to say it this way, but I don't hate to say it. I don't think some of these younger people actually don't really know what a hard time really is compared to the times we had growing up as hard times. The hard times don't match. Like when I was younger, there were some things that my parents and grandparents that went on in their time period I didn't have to deal with. So, and some of the things that they dealt with, I can respond completely differently than they could in their time. You get what I'm saying? So it's a catch-22. It's a catch-22. Uh-oh. I'm gonna put the link in there just in case you want to, Jacob. So here's the issue. Well, here's one of the issues I'm talking about. Because now, when people are looking forward to the future, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look, the future, quote unquote, doesn't look good when we look at some of the young men out here. We're like, because it's not just the responsibility of men building and men creating families and men creating legacy. That's part of it. But the other part is men rolling up their sleeves and making the best out of an unfair situation. That's the part that we like, I don't know, G. I don't know if y'all gonna make it. Because we weren't getting a fair shake either. But some of the things that we dealt with, you don't have to personally. And some of the things you deal with, we don't have to. Because even when it comes to the college part, right? Like the people that went to college and they feel like it was a setup, I understand it. Because I was right there. I got you, Jacob. Give me 1 second, G. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you?
Yeah.
What's up, bro? What should I call you? What's your name?
It's just say L.A.R. It doesn't matter.
L.A.R. It's nice to meet you.
Nice
My first time ever.
Too,
so, I guess to start, I don't really disagree with you fully, but is your point that men of the newer generations are just less masculine?
Not raised to be less masculine. Less masculine in the sense of lazier.
Okay. Yeah, no, I can see that. I don't think you can generalize it. I think, in my opinion, the men of Gen Z at least are just more polarized on both sides of the spectrum. There's lots of femininity I think masculinity is dying slowly, but I also think that there are lots of strong men in this generation. And also, I don't know if you can really blame the younger men as a group entirely, because I think it's more of a societal issue.
Let me give a caveat when you said that part. More effeminate. I see more effeminate men than usual, like that
Okay.
I've grown up with. Give me 1 second, George. I got you.
Is this all anecdotal, or is it on like social media?
Um, Pretty much day-to-day life type of situations. Like I've seen the progression of it over the years.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's you can say it's anecdotal, but at the same time, I've seen the increase of like, dang, like it's a lot of effeminate guys out here. And I'm not saying guys are gay. I'm just saying you can tell they're softer than I remember.
Yeah. No, I can
Like the
see
guy
that.
down there, George Macon, soft like no, that's my homeboy. So.
um, Wait, can I ask what? How old are you?
46.
46. That makes you Gen X.
Right.
I guess I don't really have a problem with Gen X. I think Gen Z and Gen X are more similar than different. The weak men, in my opinion, were the boomers. I think the boomer generation was the weakest. I don't know if we disagree about that.
You gotta explain that when you make that statement.
Okay. Well, are you guys familiar of how the economy in America was different when they were in the 50s, just pre-Reaganomics?
Yeah, but like okay, but I have a perspective of that. Part of the economics being different is the two world wars and Jim Crow.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So the economy back then still was propped up on some BS.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, how can you say the boomers were weak men when they survived two world wars? They survived Jim Crow. They survived so many different things that y'all generation couldn't even fathom.
So the silent generation, the boomers came after World War II, right? So they didn't fight World War II. The war they did fight in was Vietnam.
Yes.
And I mean, we could argue. I don't think Vietnam was the right choice, but they lost Vietnam, and I think they lost Vietnam because they didn't want to fight it, right? But they lost Vietnam, and then when they were in power, when they became politicians, they sent us to Iraq in the Middle East, right?
Yeah, okay. Part of that is partially people don't get the whole story.
Yeah.
So what I mean is, don't get it twisted. I forget which generation it was. It might have been a silent generation. They lost to Cuba.
Yeah.
Like America's lost way more wars than people admit to.
Oh yeah.
Vietnam was a loss. The Korean War was the silent generation.
Yeah.
So,
and another problem I have is and you guys should also have this problem, is we're not going to get any social security, right? That's a boomer thing. Well, we pay their social security, so that's a big problem I have.
I get it, but it might sound weird to hear this from us. We didn't expect to get it.
Yeah, you didn't?
No.
Well, I mean, I think that's even worse. How could you? I mean, I forgot what the percentage of the social security tax is, but I don't know. I think I have a problem with that, and I think that's kind of weak, is it not?
I'm gonna ask you a question so we can act and have
But
a discussion.
real quick, L.A.R. I don't think that has anything to do. What you're bringing up doesn't have anything to do with the generation being soft. That may be have everything to do with certain choices that was made by people throughout the generations through a progression of time. But it has nothing to do with soft. Most of this generation, which will be my children's generation, y'all grew up in a house. Y'all are digital babies.
Yeah.
It's a different world.
No, I agree. But it's definitely, there's two sides of the spectrum. I think, and it's more polarized. I think there's more masculine men than previous, and there's also less masculine.
But what would you consider masculinity based off of what?
I mean, the traditional masculinity values are to protect your family, right? To just be strong, to not be weak-minded. I'm sure I'm missing a few of the points, but just the traditional idea of masculinity.
I'm asking this for a reason. It ain't gonna turn into a big crazy, racial debate, but I want to know your ethnicity.
I'm half white, half Asian.
Okay.
Both of my parents were immigrants though, first generation.
No problem. The reason I ask that is because we look at the American economy differently. You get what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah.
Because part of what you're talking about, the Social Security and the set aside that quote unquote being an American citizen is supposed to garner, we come from generations of people who didn't get really all of that.
Oh yeah.
Most people didn't get it. Most people got scammed in one way or the other by the government.
Yeah.
So we never really expected them to hold on to their word at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We didn't have faith. Put it this way: one of the reasons why your parents or your parents and stuff may have fled certain countries because of the government. When you come here, you guys have a fresh start and a different interpretation of what America is, as opposed to the African Americans who's been here under the tyranny of this government. So we look at Social Security, we look at certain things in this government that we've been under. We don't trust them to look at none of that shit. So when you're talking to a Black American, it's different. It's going to be a different perspective. It would be like if I went with your dad to his country that he left, and whatever issues he had with that country, I wouldn't have, because I'm not from there.
Yeah. No, I actually think we have the similar opinions about immigration. I know this is more about masculinity with the newer generations, but if you want to talk about immigration, I'll be happy to.
Well, all that goes into play because, see, this is the thing when you deal with. I think what gets lost is when you deal with this generation. I call my children the digital babies. Most of y'all grew up in the house without a cell phone, without a computer. You got Google. The one thing that this generation after me and L.A.R's, what's going is the process. There's no more process of things where things accumulated over time through a process and you gain knowledge and wisdom. You got everything given to you right now with Google. And with that when it takes away the process, it takes away the discipline. It takes away understanding. Then they broke up the families. There's no more like traditional families or even knowing what a man is now. Most of this generation don't even know what the gender roles is anymore.
See, I completely agree with that. I believe in gender roles. I believe in like the nuclear family, right? Traditional husband, traditional wife. I think the problem is less with younger men and more with just Western society, I guess.
Okay, part of what I said early on when I started, part of this is the suburban environment has increased. So when I was younger, we looked at suburban kids as soft.
Yeah.
Okay, we looked at them as more silver spoon type of people. So, and a lot of us either we have family for the country or family from a quote unquote urban environment, right?
Okay.
And
Can I ask where you grew up at or where you came from?
Born in New Orleans, raised in a little bit in DC, but in Chicago.
Okay.
So now I live in Texas. But we've dealt with poverty, we've dealt with adversity, we've dealt with all the different things that we've gone from lower class to middle class to upper class.
Yeah.
So we've watched a lot of people like myself have watched a lot of young men who were in the suburbs when we were teenagers.
Okay. So you think it might be like a socioeconomic thing?
Yes.
Okay. So do you think the lower class men are still retain their masculinity more than the middle class?
More so, yeah, but it's just okay. Let me put it like this. There's less parents aren't as hard on their kids, and their kids don't deal with enough of societal issues when they're suburban. It ain't just It's not just the money thing. It's when you get comfortable people being comfortable parents, making kids comfortable. And then the
Yeah.
kids become adults. And when life starts hitting them, they're not really fully prepared.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how the school system is where you guys are. I'm sure it's very different in Texas, but you'd be surprised on what they're teaching in the California schools where I'm from. They it's almost like they're trying to kill the masculinity because everything, all the morals and values that they push is all like from a very woke agenda.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the 2030 agenda. That's part
Yeah.
of the UN 2030 agenda. That's all set in place. But that goes to what I'm saying when you're dealing with, because I look at this. What masculinity was always told for me was always a misnomer, because they conditioned black men to believe that masculinity was judged with the in our communities with the head below the belly button, not the one above the neck. I always looked at masculinity based off of your ability to produce within your environment that others can benefit from. So a masculine man was a man that was a producer.
The breadwinner.
Not who got not just a breadwinner, not who got the biggest dick in the room or the loudest in the room or the strongest. He was the one that was able to look in his environment and produce that people can benefit from. He was a leader amongst men. It had nothing to do with sexual prowess. That was a misnomer. So what happens today is when they're taking away those gender roles to the point where a man don't even know who he is, he can't be masculine. So you're going to be soft. So it has nothing to do with the wars or who did this. It has everything to do with the way the men are being reared up in today's time for this 2030 agenda for women to come into power. And if you got women coming into power, you can't have these quote unquote strong men unless they're being told what to do.
I got you. The 2030 agenda, can you speak about that? Because I'm not very familiar.
Well, you can look it up. It's the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It's bringing in an all-inclusive society. Henceforth, you see the LGBT community coming into rise. You see women's rights. You see women becoming presidents and nations across the world. Like they got a woman president in Mexico, and we know the Spanish men are very male chauvinists. Right, but you got a woman president. All this stuff ain't something I'm making up. It's when you watch these movies and you see these women in dominant roles, you see them destroying the genders. That's all part of the UN 2030 agenda. You should look it up. You're young.
Yeah, I just looked it up.
You should look it up.
I had no idea this was real.
Oh no, it's happening in front of your face.
Like, when I was a teenager, right? When we were in school, high school, college, they were trying it, but I vividly remember them talking about us in Gen X, and basically, X means we was the lost generation. That's what they call us, the lost generation. So for the most part, they taught us, but they gave up on us. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we weren't supposed to be anything. Like literally, like the way people my age talk about the younger generation is ironically this part of the same way we were talked about, but we would say even worse.
Well, they was preparing. They started in our generation. What you see transpiring now with the advent of machines, where if you pay attention, how old are you, Jacob?
I'm 18.
So check this out, right? You my son age. If you pay attention, when I was growing up, when I was 18 years old, and in the streets, whether you selling drugs or working, you made a lot of money. You went and got a girlfriend. You had some money, whether you had two girlfriends. Like we had a girlfriend, you got a house, you had a baby. Like we didn't run away from those things. That was normal.
Yeah.
Nowadays, because they got technology and machines, what y'all don't realize is you've been socially engineered by the system to not want to have babies, to not be married, because they don't need you to work in factories no more. They don't need you to produce bodies to boost the economy. They got the technology and machines to do it. So this whole conversation is based off of the technology that's coming into play. They started in me and L.A.R's generation.
Okay, and I agree with you. I think the system or the establishment is the thing that's pushing it. The problem I have is that when you look at who is in power and who controls the system, right? It's all boomers, right? To an extent, right. It's a majority boomers, and that's the only problem I really have with boomers. They came into power in the 70s, and they refuse to sell their houses. They refuse to leave politics. And in my opinion, what they've done with America isn't very beneficial or good.
I'm gonna say something in theory, right? Because it's part of the issue. The boomers that you're talking about, the vast majority of them were suburban spoon-fed silver spooners. The vast majority. They, you get those stories. Oh, we came up from nothing, but you start looking into people's families. You go, okay, you were so. Part of the leadership issue with them is the fact that they weren't the type of people to get their hands dirty. So they manufactured their policies for other people who didn't like to get their hands dirty.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why you see the society you see now. And part of that issue is, and I'm using the phrase hands dirty, you're 18.
Yeah.
George is older than me. And we see less and less men able to work with their hands. Less. And I'm not just saying that for occupational purpose. I'm saying in your personal life when you need to do it for yourself. Guys like, I ain't gonna do that. Maybe I'll pay somebody to do that. And it's like, wait a minute, bro. That's not that difficult. Why can't you do that?
No, I understand that for sure. I guess. Sorry.
Go ahead, finish.
I was gonna shift it into what do you think young men should do?
I would say the same thing I tell my 18-year-old. I used to say whatever they're doing, you go the opposite way, but you can only do that but for so long, because one thing you got to realize is, I'll compare it. When you deal with the boomer generation, right? The boomer generation was still held prey to the people that was in system that was moving the agenda along. So because even the normal boomer man, he still was being socially engineered by the people that was pulling the strings, right? Mm-hmm. From the generation prior to that generation prior, the agenda is the agenda. So in whatever generation you go, the problem that you go as time went on, the more and more freedoms we got, the dumber down we got. So if you go to my generation, right? Here I am at 50. My generation was the last generation of men that knew how to really work with their hands. I came from the crack era where your uncle might have been on crack, but you get 3 men in a room. One of them can lay all the floors down in your house. The other one can do all the cement work. The other one can do all the plumbing work. And they all had other jobs. They weren't even plumbers. They had other jobs. They knew how to do this work, right? And they might have been getting high. But what I noticed was after the crack era, us that was selling the crack, after about 15, 20 years of being out in the streets, when it was over, L.A.R, we had no skill set. We didn't know how to do what our dads and uncles knew how to do. So when I fast forwarded, I looked and say, well, damn, this is what this shit was about. It wasn't just about putting us in jail and us killing each other. So I got that on the table, but we got a whole generation of boys, 2 generations of boys that don't know how to do anything with their hands anymore.
Yup.
Ooh, so while we was outside running wild, we wasn't learning how to lay drywall. Am I wrong, L.A.R?
No, this is part of like it's been decreasing. I know for a fact my fathers and grandfathers would be like, y'all getting soft. And we used to be like, what are you talking about?
Yep.
But as we got older, we like, oh, and we had to prove to the older generation, no. Yeah. We weren't on your level when we was teens or whatever, but we gonna surpass you. That became an issue that we had to get past.
We had to call our uncles L.A.R to help put cabinets up because we didn't know how to do them.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so then guess what, Jacob? When it was time for us to have kids, they didn't know how to do anything. And then here y'all come. Right? But it started, I'm telling you, it started. I'm not saying every guy, because you had some guys that went and learned trades. I ended up going to learn the trade and learning how to do it. But coming out of that era that we was raised in, we lost a lot of skill sets. The women didn't know the young girls didn't know how to cook no more because they wasn't in the kitchen cooking with Big Mama was died during our generation, the L.A.R generation. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say this, Jacob, because you said what I'm gonna give you a solution. It's gonna sound messed up, but it's the best solution I can think of because it works.
Okay.
Tear down your mental framework on what America is supposed to do for you. And look at it like, oh, you said you would, but you're not gonna do it. Instead of trying to help me up, you're probably gonna push me down.
Yeah.
So when you change that framework, you start looking at it like, okay, I'm not gonna get what I want out of you people in a general sense. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I
Because
get it.
yeah, because
You,
I have the belief that you guys are set up to fail and y'all don't know.
yep.
I feel like I feel like I'm aware of it.
But Jacob, what I would tell you, because I got an 18-year-old son that I talk to every single day, that's upstairs in his room right now on that goddamn game. What I would tell you is this, right? I'm gonna give you some real game. A person like me, right? You're young enough to be my son. I gave birth to your generation. I watched your generation come in. Meaning everything that you guys are doing now, I saw the beginning of it. And I saw the beginning of so go back to when I was 18 years old. I saw things changing. And then I saw the new things that was coming in maximize itself. And then that got obsolete. Here come a new thing. It's kind of like cassette tapes, DVDs, and we went from DVDs to what we got now, right? I seen all that come in, right? So now when I'm using technology, I'm using it different from you. And I'm gonna tell you why. You never lived a life without a cell phone or any type of technology. I did. I lived without all that stuff. So now I use it for the full benefit of moving me forward because I know I can see the good and bad to it. With you guys, is just a way of life. So I'm telling you, I would tell you, Jacob, don't become just a digital baby to the point where you don't know anything outside of this digital stuff. You have to still maintain your self-awareness and your own way of thinking. Your what's they call it? Your own memory. You have to use this technology to benefit you going forward, where you can sustain yourself, but don't get sucked up into it like y'all generation do. Like everything, if you notice, y'all generation, everything y'all do, y'all put online. There's no secrecy. There's no nothing. Y'all put everything out there. Don't be like that. Don't let the technology do this to you.
And I'm just going to say this. I don't have any social medias. I don't use TikTok or Instagram or Snapchat. The only internet I really use is on my computer, right? But the only problem I have with this is if we can agree that masculinity is dying because in this generation, the new ones, because of society, I guess my problem is I feel like the lost generation, Gen X and boomers are the reason that society has turned into that. At least you guys played a role in it.
I would say we played I'm gonna say this as a because he's got an 18-year-old. I know he got more kids. I have a 19-year-old. One of the things we learned, one of our biggest mistakes as Gen X parents, we didn't want our kids to have the life we did. We didn't want them to go through the struggles that we did, and it crippled. And also, society started changing in a faction of our kids were able to run away from us being hard parents. They had too many outlets. But I remember that as a kid. Like I remember as a kid, they used to tell us like in schools, like if your parents are doing something, you can tell us, and basically we'll call the cops and child protective services and get you out of the house. And our parents used to be like, if you call them people, I hope you know you're finna be living with strangers. And it clicked to us. Like, oh, okay. Yeah, I ain't doing that. But
okay. Sorry, I'll let you continue.
No, you got it.
Forgot my train of thought here, but I guess what I'll say is it's very hard to be a masculine man as a young person in today's society, because everywhere in society you look, everyone's telling you that it's wrong. In school, at least in California, they're telling you that it's wrong. All the books we have to read are multiculturalist, feminist, like they push a woke agenda. So I guess it's very hard just in today's society to be a masculine man. And and I'll say this: my mom is not a traditional mom. She doesn't cook. She has a job, and my dad isn't a traditional dad either. He's not the most masculine, right? Our family dynamic, he's not the dominant person, and I feel like I was able, just being raised in that family, I was able to recognize the issues that stemmed from that. But in today's society, I feel like lots of other men in my position are just brought to believe that that is the correct way, I guess.
I get it. Like Derek, you can unmute and say whatever you want when you feel like it. Just for the record, I will tell you this, Jacob. They did that with, like the same thing that you're going through. They did it in some ways to us too. It was just we didn't respond the same way.
So when you say men in today's society are becoming weaker, I can agree with that. I just don't think that they're fully to blame.
No, I'm not saying they're fully to blame. What I'm saying is they're slow to recognize. They're too comfortable in being soft.
Yeah, well, let me say this too. Nobody's to blame. This is the part where I think we got to put it in perspective. And as you get older, Jacob, you're gonna recognize this. The agenda is the agenda. You have to learn without what you know, as a father figure, as a big brother, as an uncle. I would tell you, you have to learn to look outside, right? Look outside the conditioning or the circle that we're in, right? Pay attention to who's pulling the strings. Social engineering, from the TV to the music to all these things. Who's controlling these things? Who's controlling the way you think, to the point where you think your thoughts are your thoughts, but it's not. You're being provided how to move. Just listen, because I'm giving you some game.
Okay.
I'm giving you some game. When you look at our generation, to my father's generation, to his father's generation, all the way to yours, people are making decisions based off of what's being presented to them, and they living their life within that box. So that's why it's called social engineering. You're being social engineered to live through somebody else's creation. I mean, like with the work, how you do everything is beneficial to the elite groups. They create this. So the thing is, when you understand this, you understand that the same thing that you're saying, that was somebody saying this 30 years ago. But then 30 years from now, there'll be somebody saying something about your generation. Well, they allowed this to happen because people are not paying attention to who's controlling the strings. You're being told to behave a certain way or to do this. They're giving you the technology, right? They're giving you all the things to destroy yourself. This is the way it goes. So it's not as simple as you make it. Because what I'm saying is, when you're 48, there's going to be some young people saying the same thing about your generation. It's going to be the same thing. That's all I'm saying.
Unless things start to change, yeah. And then another question, or question of advice I have for you guys is, how do you think masculine men should deal with the woman of this generation? I know Patrick said something about women in the chat, but because the problem I've had with women is they've been taught feminism, they've been taught progressiveness, and they don't really accept fully masculine men anymore. They don't want them to be masculine in their relationship. And I've noticed that problem with all the girlfriends I've had. Their friends don't like, and I guess masculinity could be taken in different contexts here, but I'm speaking of like a traditional dominant sense of just masculinity.
Hold on for a second.
Oh, go ahead, Leo.
Derek, speak your piece, and we're gonna return to what you said, Jacob.
Okay. All right. So I wanted to chime in a bit, speak about masculinity in general, and I can even chime in on your question. So to begin, I don't know if you're white or what your race is, but
half white, half Asian.
Okay. Well, I say this, particularly in the country of America, like I know I've seen this word used, anarchy. It's basically run by women with their own agenda. You got to understand, as a man, you're automatically going to be labeled a villain in this society. And you got to accept that and own that and double down and not care what anybody thinks about it. And only do things that benefit yourself and those around you in your circle. But always prioritize yourself first. When you deal with women, like I say, accept that you're a villain, deal with them on your terms. If they don't deal with you on your terms, you get rid of them. And when it comes to masculinity in general, our masculinity is based off of your ability to lead yourself and those in your tribe, those
That's
in your
it.
group.
That's it.
And technology, learning things, understanding technology, that's keeping up with society, which is a sign of intelligence. To be a man, you need to be intelligent because we do not have any systems if we make a wrong decision. You have homeless shelters for women. Well, you have women's shelters, you have homeless shelters, but you have women's shelters. But you don't really have a glass floor. Women kind of have a glass floor. Men, we don't have a glass floor. So everything you build in society, you better make sure you preserve it. If anybody needs to ever be sacrificed, never sacrifice yourself because everything that you built, you got to start over and you don't have any aid.
Okay, that was good advice.
That, let
Oh,
me. I'm gonna say. I'm sorry. I'm gonna answer your question too, Jay. I'm gonna say this. What he didn't. Part of he didn't touch on. In my feminism, for a lot of women, is just a phase. Sometimes that phase lasts a few years. Sometimes it lasts all the way almost till they almost die. When it comes to dealing with them, you got to figure out where they are in that phase. Because some of them out of it, and then some of them are, in it. But at the end of the day, it's really a phase. Because if you look at women in your age group, they highly feminist because they have the illusion of the adult life that they're gonna have. And
mm-hmm.
then when they get into adult life, then it's like, oh, this is not what I thought. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
no,
no different. Yeah.
I totally get it. I actually have to leave soon. I have to go to work, but it was a great chat with you guys. Thanks for letting me speak on here.
No problem, man. Go enjoy your day.
All right, yeah, you guys have a good day too.
All right. So I'm gonna get back to this part. Um, the reason I keep saying, am I getting old? Because I got to add that to it. Sometimes we get older and we're kind of jealous of the youth because if I knew what I knew, like, because when we were young, we did dumb stuff too. But it's like, man, if I was your age right now, oh, I'd be a problem because you boys ain't got it. But we had the same issue, like the older guys tell us that too. The thing that I see now is younger men are taking longer and longer to find themselves in manhood. And that ain't like that's problematic to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's partially is because as George was talking about, a lot of digital babies. You're inside all the time. You're not interacting outside. So you might be 15 doing 7, 8, 9 year old stuff. You might be 20 doing 13, 14, 15-year-old stuff. You know what I'm saying? You might be 30 doing 22, 23-year-old stuff. And it's normalized because the vast majority of the generation is doing the same thing. And we used to hear that, 30 is the new 20 and 40 is the new 30. And for us, that's like, no, you just screwed up.
Is that a generational thing though? Because I actually have spoken to many men who are a lot older than me who are extremely stupid. That's oftentimes why I say that the difference between an old fool and a young fool is the old fool has been a fool a lot longer.
You know what? Yes and no. Because what winds up happening is old fools did used to be young fools. But young fools we used to actually learn from old fools to not be old fools.
Oh yeah.
There
So-
You
you go.
definitely learn what not to
There you
do from a person's mistakes. I always say that a smart person learns from their mistakes. A smarter person learns from mistakes of others. And a stupid person doesn't learn from anybody's mistakes, including their own.
Right. So that's what like part of me saying people are catching on later is I'm looking at younger men do things that was not normalized when I was younger because we knew it was going to end bad. Like, and I hate to use this reference, but I'm gonna use this reference. They used to say my generation was the dealers, now this younger generation are the users. And for us, we can see that dope fiend mentality in the youth, and we know, oh, this is not going to end well. And it's not just as far as the drug use; it's the decision making. People are making decisions like dope fiends.
But isn't it different though? Because I mean, you're a late Gen Xer. My oldest brother is just a year older than you, but so he's a late Gen Xer. But I mean, y'all came up in the '80s, which is a crack generation. So you had dealers, but you also had enough people who was on crack that is called the crack generation. That's why oftentimes I say we're really just going in a cycle. The only thing different between, well, I'm a millennial, but the only thing different between our generations is we have more social media. So people are literally posting videos of how stupid they are.
But that's the difference. It's not the same. I'm gonna tell you why. But this is why what I told him, the young boy. My generation gave birth to y'all generation. I saw this generation coming in. Me, I can use my eyes, and I can see the differences between my generation and this generation now. And the biggest difference is because you have issues that are similar, but the biggest issue with my children, as opposed to me, is the process. The process is going of the way we dealt and do things. Everything is sped up now. There's no more process and the decision making and the learning process of things. So once you take that part out, you get what you get today. You get a problem. Like you got y'all. It's the Google era. It's the the minute we have one argument, the relationship is over. Everything is sped up today, as opposed to when we were growing up. We did things in times. Even the music, songs are there in like 2 minutes. You say, well, go make a 4-minute song. They'll go crazy. That's too long. The attention span is different. So it's a whole different world than it was when I was young.
What it sounds like you're saying people are just reaching the same outcome, but they're doing it quicker. Because I mean, from what I gather,
no, it's not the same outcome. Because if it was, it's not the same outcome. Because people today, they don't even want to have babies no more. They're not. It's a different world. It's going into a different world. We don't come from the same world.
Let me interject for a second. Just bear with me when I ask this question.
Okay.
Derek, you a basketball fan?
I am. I know basketball very well, actually.
Okay, so for us, I'm going to use the Dream Team as an example. Okay? The Dream Team came into place because other nations were using professional athletes and we were using college students. So they said, okay, we're going to have our best against y'all best. Let's see how they go out. And the Dream Team crushed everybody in the world, right? And then the next group was the Dream Team 2 in 2000. And
the Dream Team 2 was in 94.
96. 92,
no, 94. 94. The Dream Team 2 was 94. They don't call it the Dream Team 3.
Because the Olympics was 92 in Barcelona. Then they had the one in 96 in Atlanta.
They had the one in 94 too, because Glenn Robinson was on that one.
That's the World Championships.
I see.
That's the World Championships.
Yeah, bro. It's 90. The next one was 96, bro.
And then and then 2000 was, I think 2000 was the one where Vince Carter jumped over the dude.
Yeah.
So what's the name of that rapper? I mean, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm talking about.
The reason now I stopped there for this reason. After the year that Vince jumped over old boy, the players decided, you know what? I'm good. I don't need to really be on the Dream Team. We don't need to have our best. We could just, I could just chill out for the summer and send somebody else. And then you started seeing iterations of our best players, but our best players wasn't playing. And then since our best players wasn't playing, the other countries caught up because they got confidence because we wasn't really crushing them like that. And now you fast forward to 2025, you got a bunch of foreign players. I'm not hating on the foreign players at all because they balled them. But the fact that the players got so comfortable that they decided not to crush the competition for the future, they getting crushed by the competition that they created. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
this is what I'm talking about as far as the generations. People got comfortable, and now it's like, oh, well, where y'all dogs really at now? And that's why they had to bring the team back, and Kobe had to be there, and you get what I'm saying? Now we got to bring LeBron and all that, because now it's like, oh, we really shouldn't have done that. But it's too late.
and it's a different mentality. See, the thing is, if you go back to, I remember being a kid, and my dad brought home a microwave, and my grandmother was like, "What the hell is that? Get that out of my house!" Right? You know, she was used to the old school way. She born in 1919. Right? He bringing in all this new technology, LAR, all this. I remember when they brought when the VCR came out, and it wasn't remote. It wasn't remote. It wasn't remoteless. It had a wire to it. Right? It was just, the 80s coming in with all the new technology, and the 80s came in with a whole different world from what the 60s and 70s was to my dad. So now what I'm saying is, when I look at this world today, because of the technology, the attention span is different, the expectations on things are different. Um, just the idea of competition, the way that men used to be amongst each other, that pride is not there. It's just different. It's different. And the process of doing things is different because everything is sped up. So it's a whole different world than the world I grew up in. And I only noticed because from when I was 18 to now, and I'm watching the way that my children operate towards things as opposed to the way we did. We didn't expect, when we were doing things, we didn't expect everything to happen overnight. We knew it was going to be a time in the process. This generation, it's not their fault. They don't have no patience for none of that because of the way the technology is. So it's not the same world, and it's not the same outcomes.
It really just sounds like you're saying people are getting to the same outcomes quicker. Because I know in your generation, you had free love society in the 70s. In the 80s, you had the Craig generation.
I'm
talking about him.
No, that wasn't him either.
No, I was born in the 70s. I'm an 80s baby. No, they're not getting to the same outcomes. Look at where we're going forward by 2035, 2040. This is the generation when I grew up. The outcomes was getting married, having children, having babies to work, go to work for the system. Y'all generation is don't get married, don't have children. There is no more genders. LGBT is equal society. I never grew up in the all equal society. The societies were never equal. This is not the same outcomes. Totally.
Yeah, that is different. Yeah, that is different. But you do understand that, us not getting married and stuff. It's not that people don't desire it. Well, they start not to desire it, but that's more so because the cost of living is so high. Yeah, a lot of people are having a hard time sustaining themselves.
Okay, hold on. We understand the cost of living. We understand hold on.
I'm sorry.
We understand it, but at the same time, we look at it like y'all never really had poverty like that.
Thank you.
And it's like that for us, that's the issue. It's like, yes, the cost of living went up, but we looking at younger men like y'all don't. The struggle of adulthood is gonna have you broke, unless you just you hit it and make it. But few people, 1 out of 100 make it like that. You get what I'm saying? So we're looking at guys and we're looking at the young men like, it looks like you just don't want to participate in adulthood.
And LAR, if you go back to our generation as opposed to my father's generation, everything was high compared to them too. Everything that part of what you're saying, Derek, is the same, but the outcomes, like when we were growing up, we had family shows that socially engineered us to want to be family. Like we was downloaded with the Cosby Show, Family Ties, Family Matters. Everything was based off of family and structure, right? And you had your flip side, like because you had outside the crack era, but then you also had poverty. Like I grew up in the heat of the crack era. So y'all didn't go through the poverty stricken and all the things that we saw and had to go through. But again, when you in a generation now where they're socially engineering,
we really did go through that. I mean, I've been letting you say it, but we really did go through that. I am a millennial, and like the cost of living has gone up substantially since then.
But what the millennials go through, what I'm saying is when you get the millennials, right? Y'all wasn't crack era kids.
Some of them were.
Most of them wasn't though.
Yeah, most of them. Some of
them.
Yeah,
they wasn't. What I'm saying was they wasn't crack era kids, and they're coming through now with the advent of the technology now, where things are speeding up. Like they coming in through AOL and Net Zero and dial up, and everything is speeding up now. Most of them didn't go to a phone booth. Yo, Bill, my beeper just went off. Pull over real quick. Let me call Keisha back. And when you call her back, the phone busy. They don't know that. They don't know nothing about that. It's a whole different world. Right? So, go ahead.
No, you know what, Derek? Go ahead. My bad.
All I'm saying is the world that they have today is also teaching them to be selfish, and everything is about the I, the me. And it's not their fault. It's the way they've been socially engineered to see themselves in the world today. It's no more together, and we as a crew, as a group, and we do everything is about me, myself, and I, and what I gotta get. And that's just the way it is. They've been bred to be selfish. But when I say that, Derek, I don't blame y'all. I'm looking at the societal norms that they're pushing on everybody.
I got you. Well, I was letting you speak because what I was thinking is, because I know you talk about family, and I'm aware of the different shows, Family Matters, all of that was out, teaching about family. And even though I stopped watching TV, I know you had shows like House of Pain and stuff that also talked about it. But my question is, though, do you think it's smarter for like my generation to not want to start families when they have a difficult time supporting themselves, or do you think it's smarter to create a family when you really can't support yourself? So now you definitely can't support a family.
I answer that, and I'm gonna tell you, Derek, as a brother to brother, all sincerity. If you look at our grandparents, they didn't have two nickels to rub together. They had a family with no education that made it work. I'm gonna say this to you, brother Derek. Whatever the system and societal norms is trying to push, go the opposite way. Yes, go and do that, because there will be a way made. Our grandparents and great grandparents made a way with no education and nothing, and when nobody was coming to give them nothing. So whatever these societal norms is pushing, go the opposite way up, because it's all part of a social engineering.
That sounds good, but we gotta be practical. When you're starting a family, you need to be able to support your family. Figuring out like you missing meals so your kids can eat is not a very functional.
Y'all not missing meals. You're not missing meals.
No, I'm saying when you're doing it to raise your family, because I just said that the cost of living is higher, so a lot of people are not creating families because they have a difficult enough time to support themselves. So it'd be even more difficult if you create a family. So now you would be missing meals so that your children could.
I disagree with that, Derek. Because I think
let me interject for a second.
Yeah.
Name one. I see you. I'm gonna get you in a second, dog.
No problem. Take your time, bro.
What people like myself see is like we're talking about the cost of living and the raising family. It's the will to do something hard. We're not, and we get it, man. Part of it is like, man, look, the generation is different, the times is different. I really don't want to be set up for a bad situation. And we get that part. We really do get that part because we've lived it. But the other side of that is also this. For us, it looks like we got a generation of young men who say, it's too expensive. I don't want to create a family. I don't want to do this. And then we're looking at you and we're like, yo, but you're not doing nothing. You're not, even with the cost, because what we're seeing is, we're seeing men and women do this. The cost of living is high because a lot of y'all trying to live up above y'all means. Y'all won't go live in a janky apartment complex to save a few dollars. You know what I'm saying? And I know, and they raise rent on them joints too. We know because we lived in them. But y'all don't want to have the hoopty experience. You know what I'm saying? Y'all want to go on the trips and go to the nice restaurants. The stuff that a lot of us we didn't do till we was 30 something.
Yep.
So y'all want it now, and we like, yeah, but what's gonna wind up happening is it's not just a family thing that you putting off. We like the adulthood. It's crazy to say this to some of y'all. You need to attack your adulthood when you're young because it's gonna get far more expensive if you attack it when you get old. So people think, okay, I'm gonna get to this level, I'm gonna get on my feet. That's not how that normally goes.
Can I add into though? I've been married 25 years, and I say this: I got a 33-year-old son. This generation is selfish as hell, and I'm gonna be honest. The thing that it takes in order to actually maintain a relationship, to sacrifice the commitment, the willing. Again, this generation cares about a lot of vanity, and there's a sacrifice and things that it takes in order for it to make it work. If you love this woman and you love this man, and y'all willing to get together and make things work, because the world didn't start with y'all. The economy wasn't just messed up or out of control just with you guys. You guys are just, it's new that you guys are embarking on, right? And like I said, World didn't start with you guys. So no, there's no excuse for that. What it is this generation has been bred to be selfish. They still like the biological things of having sex and making babies, but the actual sacrifice that it will take in order to raise those things, in order to get along, in order to love each other, you've been social engineered not to do it. Y'all
Well, I
not.
can't speak on the dysfunction. I mean, the dysfunction is dysfunction. I'm speaking on the functional.
But the economy part is no. The economy. Listen, what you're saying is what people said 30 years ago and 60 years ago. They still found ways to make it work and happen because they was willing to sacrifice for each other. Y'all not. Y'all care about yourself, and that's fine.
So that's why I go back to the same question. Is it smarter for you to, Miss Mills, to raise a family because you're not in a position really where you should be creating a family? Or is it smarter to wait until you get in a better position where you can better do so, even if it may take longer?
You shape the question differently now.
I'm gonna answer it the hard way.
Well, I didn't add the first part earlier, but I'll go ahead and add it now. But I did throw in the caveat that you may not even be able to, because you get closer to 40, you may not even be able to create that family, actually.
Yeah, but that's why L.A.R said you need to start manhood young. Don't wait till you get old.
Manhood is making smart decisions to prepare yourself throughout life. And it's not a smart idea to start making adult decisions like creating children when you can barely support yourself. That is not a smart decision.
You know what? I'll say it this way. Like, because I wasn't planning per se to have mine. You get what I'm saying? But I did have a long-term plan, and we're seeing that younger folks don't have a long-term plan.
Nope.
And that's even beyond the family creation. Would I say you should miss a few meals? Yeah, because it looks to us like y'all too fat anyway, and we're the reason for that. You know what I'm saying? Because like we look at the younger generation like, you know what? Y'all don't realize we didn't eat pizza or Chinese food or just takeout in general probably once a month as kids and teenagers. Y'all eat it on a regular basis. We didn't get the steak and the shrimp and the lobster. We didn't get that, and we became parents and grandparents and gave that to
the major reason why we're gaining weight is really the chemicals in the food. And I know that for a fact because I mean I go overseas regularly. I just got back in the country in October. I was not eating healthy foods. I was in Belize and they aren't cooking healthy foods. They cook things like fried jacks and stuff, which I'm eating regularly. I was doing a lot of walking because everything's in walking distance. But I say that chemicals in the food. Well, I do a lot of exercise anyway. More when I'm back home actually, but it's the chemicals in the food. Like when I was in Japan, I was working out, but I wasn't really eating healthy out there. It's the chemicals in the food that's causing that right there. And y'all had less chemicals in your food back then.
No. We didn't have less chemicals. No.
Y'all had less chemicals?
No.
Y'all use cane sugar, not corn syrup.
What?
When y'all had soda, it was made with cane sugar, not corn syrup.
Bro, fam. You talking about our parents.
Right.
We had
even in the 80s.
No,
even in the 80s.
That was high fructose corn syrup, because that's when they just started figuring it out. We had the most quote unquote toxic breakfast, the most toxic snacks. They've been raining them suckers down since the 80s.
Yep.
Yeah. Can I say the
welfare cheese, the welfare milk, that powdered milk?
The eggs. Go ahead, New York. My bad. Now you right after New York. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I want to state what y'all saying about the food and health is right. But every 60 seconds in America, a black man has sex with a transgender.
That was a random statement.
I'm confused. What does that mean?
What's that got to do with anything? Where are you going with this, bro?
I was about to ask him what was he doing 60 seconds.
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah.
Well, see, and that's the problem too. You get a bunch of weirdo. 30 years ago, we had this social media. What no dude jumped up there and said some shit like that.
Yeah. I hope I get a chance to come in, if that's okay with y'all.
Go ahead, man.
Go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, by the way, good to see you, L.A.R. Good to see you, brother. Just came to support you. George, first of all, congratulations on you and your significant other on your silver anniversary. That's not easy. I know. I mean, I'm not married. I have family members who are.
It's very hard.
And I know it's work. It's work. it's work, but the problem is like because I heard what you were saying about making sacrifices and whatnot. Dave Chappelle had one of the most important piece of advice from his late father, Willie Chappelle III. William Chappelle III. He said when he was 19 years old, he said, "Name your price in the beginning, and when things get more expensive than the price you name, get out." If you understand what that means, you understand. If not, I can break it down for you later. As far as younger men and whatnot, we can also argue that this system has been, and I'm on the outside looking in, excuse me about that, but this system has kind of hamstrung a lot of generations because, first and foremost, L.A.R, George, I don't know, when y'all were in high school, I'm sure you guys still had home economics and such, right? They had
Yes.
shop and everything.
Yep.
They
Well, I
took
had
those
that in high
things.
school too.
They took
Did you
them
have
out.
that in high school?
I did.
But
And
eventually they would take
guess
them
what,
out.
Libra? I took home ec. I took home ec because I like
Yeah, I
to cook.
took that too.
They
like
Yeah,
phased it
yeah.
out and then they put it back in.
They phased it out until they put it back in because the thing is because what home ec did was prepare you guys for the outside world, how to be responsible adults and also be conscious at the same time. Same thing with shop and other things and also civics classes because they needed you guys to be productive and conscious participants in politics and whatnot until they realized no, we need people dumbing down. It's like George Carlin talked about. They need people to be obedient workers, smart enough to operate the machine, but not smart enough to question things. And as far as people getting, and you can say that has kind of softened people in certain ways. Oh, and by the way, George, for those of us millennials who were born in the 80s and whatnot, you're forgetting we're the generation of crack babies. We're the generation of AIDS babies as well. You know what I'm saying?
I'm aware. I was there.
And yeah, I know you were aware, and sometimes that gets lost in the information sometimes, So
No,
we had our battles.
I spoke to that. I'm sorry, Clinton. I spoke to that. But that was the whole genesis of what I was speaking about. I was
okay.
I was selling it to the people that was older than me and the people that was making those babies. That's why I said I gave birth to this generation. I saw it coming. I saw.
Well, I guess I didn't. I just came in. I didn't hear that. Excuse me for being late on that one. But that does need to be brought up because a lot of people forget each generation has its own struggles and what each generation is going through. The other generations don't know, and this is why I say welcome to the other side because every generation we all experience something called the generation gap. First time is when we're young men, and the old people like I don't understand these youngsters, and then when we come of age. And we can't understand the younger generation. It's a learned habit when you think about it. And there's some things that have been learned and passed on inadvertently by each generation to be thinking in certain ways that affects a way to communicate with one another and pass on whatever important information, excuse me. And on top of that, as far as the whole question about some men getting soft, there's no rite of passage. There's no rite of passage. You know what I'm saying? In traditional societies, there's a rite of passage from boyhood to adolescent to manhood. Where is that?
When have we ever
in this society?
I'm gonna get to it because I spoke about it when Jacob was on earlier.
Okay.
Before that, Derek, let me ask you something. We're gonna get to the Bible or something. Do you know the interest? It might sound random, but I'm going somewhere. It's positive. Do you know what the interest rates was in the 80s?
No, I'm not sure what the interest rates were in the 80s.
So you a grown man now. You notice how you get a credit card? It's like 19, 24, 28%. You see that now?
Well, I don't use credit cards.
Well, but you see how the cars are expensive and the interest rates went up on the cars. So the payments are more because they're more expensive and they're trying to string it on forever and a day for you to make payments on it.
I'm kind of the wrong person to ask those questions. I don't even really get cash cars. I know that. Well, actually, I heard that because I only really do cash cards. I don't like having car payments. And I don't use credit cards.
I get it. The reason I asked you that is because basically right now the 2020s is the 1980s to us. Because we saw our parents make like $17,000 a year, but they had a car payment, that at 17%. You know what I'm saying? In a cheap janky apartment, but sometimes you couldn't pay the electricity bill, so we were sweating like all hell. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what you're talking about now, as in like it's unaffordable, it's a lot of our childhood. And we had some of the best times of our lives living like that. So we don't think it affects children as adversely as you think it does.
I didn't say it affects children.
Because you're saying it's going to affect the adults.
Well, yeah, what I'm saying is making a smart decision based off what you observed. Like, I'm saying it literally, I try to keep it vague, but I'm saying it from first-hand experience, because I got an older brother who's a year older than you. The other one's a year younger than you. And I know how they grew up and how I grew up. When we grew up, our parents were poor. But when they grew up, our parents were extremely poor, to the point where sometimes my mother would skip meals so they could eat.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it firsthand. Because I know what she said, I know what they went through compared to what I went through.
But okay, did that make their life worse?
No, their lives weren't bad at all. But also, I'm aware that I should not put anybody in the position that they were in.
So,
but is that your world now? Is that who you are?
No, I do pretty decent,
right?
But I do want to do better. That's why I'm like, we need to make a smarter decision than what our parents did, so that we don't raise kids the way our kids came up. Yeah, they had a good childhood, but at the same time, though, you're skipping meals so your kids can eat, their own school lunch, your own welfare. That is not really a way to ideally raise your kids if you can avoid it.
We don't disagree with that.
We don't. But I'm going to be the harsh one out of this. We're looking at young men and women. If they're struggling as adults now, they were more on the middle class side than they were the poverty side coming up. That's the shift between our age groups. You get what I'm saying? So we're looking at people who it looks like you don't want to live within your means. And if you have kids, it's a problem. And having kids could be stressful. It could be tight on the budget. But at the end of the day, when you say people are making good decisions, we're not seeing good decisions, because what we're seeing is young people grow old saying they're making good decisions, and they wind up with nothing and no kids at 40.
Or I hear a lot of people from his generation say what he's saying now, but biology is biology. One thing they don't stop doing is having sex. I was just having this conversation with one of my youngers in the gym. They still like to fuck like everybody else do and have sex. And my brother Derek might not go make babies, but that's not, when I look outside, these people, they still doing these things. They still making these bad decisions when it comes to sex, while still saying having these same conversations. So what I'm saying,
that's not a good example, right? Because right now, less men actually have children, right?
Yeah, we know.
And there's a reason for that.
It's kind of supporting my argument right there, though. It's kind of supporting my argument.
He said it's not a good argument because there are less black men with kids now, and I said we know that.
Listen, we know that, but within the confines of the arguments and the communities that we come from, motherfuckers are still making babies, bro. And it ain't just the Pookie and Ray Ray on the block. It's not. When I hear these conversations, now I'm not saying it's just 100%, but in the context of the conversation, a lot of these guys talk this talk, but their discipline, their actual discipline, is not lined up with the words that come out of their mouth. That's what I'm alluding to.
Let me say it like this. And look, I ain't trying to. This is why the beginning of this thing says, "Am I getting old?" Okay, because I'm coming from an older perspective. What I'm seeing and what I have seen is, like, my grandparents used to say, "Oh, you just so smart, you can wind up stupid," and that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing people go, "Okay, we better than y'all, we smarter than y'all," and it's like, but the outcome isn't the same as y'all because y'all had a different economy. And we're like, no, the outcome is different because and it might suck to say this, we looking at younger men and women like, oh, you're too smart to work for. You're too good to work for. You're too good to push through that rough patch. So it's not like for us, we're like, oh, it's never gonna get better for you.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying, are men getting soft? Because what I'm saying is that even if you think it's gonna get better, it's a generation of men and women who don't want to go uphill to get to the other side.
Yes. But I don't think that that's all they fault, though, L.A.R.
No, it's not. No.
That's what I was alluding to when I was saying about the technology and the social engineering of what they're breeding. So when I say this generation is selfish, I'm not even blaming them. They're being socially engineered to be selfish, right?
I don't argue. I mean, we are
Technology.
selfish. You're completely right. So that's why I have
Derek, hold on a second. Derek, bruh. Just hear George out for a minute. I understand you want to respond, but you got to listen to comprehend.
No. It's cool because he been giving us some insight. So it's not like we're going to just go ahead.
And what I'm saying is they've been bred to be selfish based off the agenda that's being set forward going forward with the technology. Because they don't see, people think, well, you not having babies because you don't want to have babies. You being told, you being social engineered that way. See, when we use these arguments about the trauma that we saw and been through, then we see the technology come in. That's all part of the social engineering, because in the system of capitalism, who's benefiting from the conversation we having based off the trauma? It's an agenda and system in play for every generation. That's why you have the thing where my parents didn't like the shit we was doing, and his parents didn't like the shit they was doing. Now it comes down to, we don't like the thing y'all doing, but 30 years from now, it's going to be somebody else saying the same thing about y'all generation. But it's all the agenda. That's why I told the young guy, whatever the agenda is, go against it. Because they're social engineering you to be pigeonholed into that even when you don't realize it. That's all I'm saying.
Let me do it this way. Naima and Derek, just hear me out and y'all respond to this.
I'm all ears.
We look at younger people and we look at younger people's trauma as a luxury. Youngest people's struggle as not really a struggle. We look at young people's issues as let's just go first world issues per se. So are we looking at you in a light that demeans you because it's like, yo, because we're looking at it like, bro, that's it? Like, that's what the issue really is? Like, that's why you're not going to do that? Like, because we're coming from a space where, bro, the things that stop younger people from going forward, it's like a regular Tuesday for us.
Yeah. To answer your question. Yeah, thank you. To answer your question, first of all, L.A.R, I'm not that young, man. I'm closer to you in age when you think about
it. But since both of y'all under us, I'm just doing that way so everybody can speak.
Yeah, I know. We're just playing with you. But I also think that also it's thankfully from my upbringing and whatnot, it's like we were not a lot of young people like from the 90s onwards I say were not taught about adversity and whatnot in certain cases, you know? And it's not our fault, you know, sometimes because the lessons we learned were taught to us by the elders who taught us what we need to learn because they wanted to prepare us for life. But sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle. Or the parents sometimes will push it off by saying, no, not yet. Because you know how parents sometimes want to protect their child's innocence instead of preparing them for life, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But parents sometimes forget that kids are observing and understand what's going on. And so they have to make this. So when they come of age, they not having the proper guidance, make decisions that might come off as bizarre or whatnot. But they weren't taught how to overcome adversity unless the parents taught them about adversity. Taught them how to go through adversity. You know what I'm saying?
I think because
hold on, George. Hold on. Derek, you got it from there, bro.
Yeah, go ahead, Derek.
All right, so I know you use the word trauma, and honestly, I don't view like the economy and things like that as trauma. So I can't even argue. I can't even speak on that.
I'm using it because it's a term that people throw
Yeah,
around
people
too much.
use
in my
that word a
opinion.
lot, which is
Yeah.
hard for me. But I don't view it as trauma. I view it as this though. No matter how you say it, to me, to make a bad decision, knowing it's a bad decision is just not a smart thing to do. But I got a question for all of y'all who have children though. How do y'all view children? I'll say this. To me, your child is supposed to be your heir. So I feel like you need to be in a position where you're comfortable before you decide to create a family. To do so otherwise, to me, it's just not a smart decision.
That's fine. I'm not mad at you for that. There's nothing wrong with that. My only thing is this. I'll say this because I have children. You don't. The one thing I've learned having an 18-year-old, a 28-year-old, a 30, and a 33-year-old is this. I have my way that I had in my generation, me and L.A.R. and Naima, and the way the world was. I'm giving my son and my daughter wisdom, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. But one thing I also had to adjust and understand that they're not living in my world, right? They're living in the world that they're growing up in. So some things they can understand, but some things they can't conceptualize what I'm talking about. So I have to come down to the world that they're in to be able to properly guide and teach them as they move forward. So when I make certain statements, I make certain statements from lived experience of being born, being around before this generation was birthed in, and now living in the generation. So I think where the disconnect comes sometimes like this generation look at us as if we don't know what we're talking about, because sometimes I think that we want y'all to succeed so much and we're afraid for what's out there that you like your present is my past. So sometimes I think it's the way that I might disseminate the information you may reject it. Where you understand what I'm trying to say there? I'm saying this in a caring way because I can see the outcome of what's over there that you may not see because I got more life experiences. I have to be able to sometimes learn how to disseminate the message in a way that they can understand based off the era that they're in. I had to learn that with my son.
Let me get to this. I'm gonna answer your question too, Derek, and then I'm gonna throw our old ass under the bus. So, my answer to your question is, we don't put parenthood on a pedestal enough to not do it. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, they're supposed to be our heirs. Yes, we're supposed to pour into them, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, and where we fuck up with that is it don't have to be ideal either. You feel me? That's what we mess up too. Here's the thing that I'm about to say to throw our punk ass under the bus. So Gen X, baby boomers, part of the reason that I think y'all soft is because we some coon ass parents. Whether I know whether it's the I just want a better life for you, so we got to be around these white folks in these white schools, cool ass parents, or it's street nigga, the house nigga became a parent. You know what I'm saying? So
you talking about helicopter? Are you talking about like helicopter parenting and such?
No.
Would you include that in that?
Well, because I'm talking about us. I'm talking about us black folks who thought, and this is why I say it's cool ass parenting. There were too many black people who. Sometimes it's a class issue that you went from the lower class to the middle class, so you just went to a middle class neighborhood. But there's too many of us who we're gonna go to the better schools in the better community, and it's like, no, because them kids at them schools was fucked up. You just didn't say they was fucked up because they was white. So now your kids fucked up like they fucked up. And these young these young men and women now don't know that the reason why they're soft like that because they coon ass parent wanted to be like the white folks because the white folks are good. Or like I said, it was the street nigga, the house nigga. You know what I'm saying? I was I was super hood, but I don't want my kids to be super hood like me. So I'm gonna raise them not to be super hood while I'm still being super hood. You get what I'm saying? Like that don't.
I get it.
Say that last part again, because that was good. That's something I'm gonna tell you, L.A.R. The first one you said we say all the time, but the second one that's something that a lot of people, especially in the black spaces, run away from. What you just said, that last statement was real powerful. That's a good one. That's a real good one.
I got to follow up to that with his point too. I'm sure George would love it. We'll continue.
The street nigga turn, the street person turn. Oh my God.
I heard somebody say that about a week ago. I was like, that is right. That's true. Because I see it in the young men and young women who I'm looking at them and they're black people doing blackface of black people. And I can see it. I'm like, that's not really you, G. Like, that's not you. Like, I can see, you really, how can Clarence parents had a really good marriage. It's just, your daddy was a hood nigga and, he still wanted to be a hood nigga while you brought you in the suburbs. And now you think you could just tap into it every time you feel like it. And they're like, no, that's not how they go.
So let me speak on what I think a good time is to have a child. I say when you financially stable and you have assets, like investments or things that you can put in your child's name, and you have wisdom to know how to raise them. You ain't gonna know everything, but you have those things in place.
Fair enough.
Then you're ready to create a child.
Let him finish.
That's not.
Go ahead,
that's not an age. That's not an age right there.
No, let's be honest.
It's not an age.
Practical.
You just got to have those things in place.
No,
so that's what I'm saying. It's like it's.
But this is what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying, but
it's not
for
an
us,
age. People have different.
There has to be.
But you're being disingenuous. I'm gonna tell you why. Respectfully, I'm gonna tell you why you're being disingenuous there. Because I don't want to generalize. When we look at our community, us as black people, and you're talking about having assets and having all these things set in place. By the time a young black boy, based off the way we're being reared up, get to that place, how old is he normally? Let's be honest.
Well, I'm 37. I actually have those in place.
Not the individual.
It's not that hard. You can invest. You can invest in like a 401k. An investment is an asset. You own that.
No, so what I'm saying is we're not having an individual conversation though. We're having a general conversation about us as a people in our community, not you, the individual.
But this is very simple though. If you have a job, a 401k, that is an asset. If you have a stable job, you're in it for 5 years, you have stability. So if you're stable, you should have a certain level of wisdom. You have assets. Now you are ready to create a family.
Okay, hold up right there. So from our thinking pattern like that, you basically saying around 27.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I had in mind, 27.
So, okay, that's cool. For what we seeing is people going way past 27, even when they fit that protocol.
Yeah, that's an individual decision for them, but they are in a position where they can do it.
Yeah, I get it. Because but I will say this too. The stability part as far as some of these workforces is not there because some of these people been trying to climb that corporate ladder and they kept hopping jobs every 2 years and they sabotage their own stability. You get what I'm saying? And other people, they just didn't plan properly because and even when you talk about the 401k, we need to talk about how many people, too many people dip into theirs to the point where it's not feasible to have it anymore.
Yeah.
Don't talk
think about getting back to the coon ass parents. By the way, L.A.R, that was nasty how you threw yourself under the bus. That was ugly. Ooh. I'm surprised you came out of that one piece. But
I got a cast on.
Yeah, we had to get you a back brace too, man. Now, I could have stopped you, but how am I going to explain this to your kinfolk, man? They're going to look at me like I threw you under the bus, man. It's good. It's a good thing we got it on tape, so I don't get, wrongfully accused of shit. But anyway.
That community.
Yeah, hold on, Derek. Derek, hold on a second. Back to the coon ass parents thing. To George's point and everything, I think there was a quote I remember, I think it was Plato said that when you raise your child, do not foist your own values on them because they're meant for a different, they're going to be the generation of adults for the future. You can teach them what they need to know, but understand they're meant for that particular time. And sometimes with some of the things you might be thinking may be outdated or may not be applicable to them. It's good for them to learn those values as a point of reference. But how do they use that knowledge and apply it to their situation going forward? That's the question. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Derek, say what you was about
and
to
I
say.
do think, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I want
Go ahead, Derek.
add
Hold
on
on,
to
let
that.
Derek say what he's about to say.
Okay.
Yeah,
Go
well, I
ahead.
was gonna say we just need a higher level of financial literacy. Because, like I say, you know, I know you mentioned about people dipping into their 401k. It would be good if we had a higher level of financial literacy, because there is a penalty for using your 401k. It's not supposed to be used like that. But you know, it's on the individual to educate themselves. I educated myself. The materials out there, we can do so.
Well, I will say to you, Derek, then, because, and I'm just speaks to you, the individual, Derek. You are a brother amongst the few that's educated yourself, and it's like as the scripture in the Bible, 2 Corinthians 6:17 says, "Come out from amongst them and be ye separate." So you are a brother that you come from where we come from. You looked around your environment and said, I want better than this. I don't think I'm better than this. I just want better than this. So you sought out the knowledge. So if I'm talking to you as big brother, little brother, I would tell you, based off of what you saying you've done, go whatever they're promoting, you do the opposite, because you prepared yourself to do the opposite. And because you did these things, the proper woman for you is already there for you. See, because the way you think and the energy that you put out is what comes to you. So you already prepared yourself for your wife already. It's there already. How I know it's true, because when I was in the street, I've been locked up for murder twice, right? And once for 2 counts of attempt. I've been married for 25 years. I'm 50, half of my life. How? Because I made a decision the last time I got out of prison to change my life. Because I figured out that I learned at one point in my life that George Macon actually had a choice. And I made a choice to change from the conditions that I was living in, because I found out that it was a bigger world outside of that. And when I made that choice, guess what? My wife showed up.
Thank God for that.
Now I'm gonna throw us under the bus again.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Let me get it on tape. Let me get this on camera. All right.
I think we do need to pay attention to younger folks when they say, you know, the options aren't as prevalent as we think they are.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? But I will say this, and it's gonna suck. It's way more hoes out here, and it's way more hoe ass niggas too. So the question, you know, is who really wants an adult life?
Thank you.
Because we like, that's the thing. I think sometimes we got to separate, like, that some people say they want an adult life and some people really want one, and you got these two demographics together trying to figure it out, and it ain't working out well. But that's a problem.
But this is why I said, L.A.R, when I because I got children of this generation, and I have conversations with my children every day, and I had to learn. I had to tell myself. Remember, we do content creation. We've been online for years, right? And I had to tell myself. One day, I was talking to my youngest son, and I was hollering at him about something he did, L.A.R. And I'm looking at him, I'm fussing at him, and there's something dawned on me, naming like, this little ninja don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And
he was only confused, I'm sure. He was pretty confused, wasn't he?
Yes, because I'm giving him information to a world that he don't. I had to come down to where he was and say, all right, son, okay, son.
And that's an us problem. Because we assume that somebody, you should be here. How the fuck they here? Right. How? Like, let me back this up, because Derek, you're talking about the 401k, and London, Land, I'm tripping. You put that in there about the tax. So anybody who in here at the moment, if you have a 401k and you dip into it, right? They're gonna tax you. One of the ways to get it without having to pay back is a hardship. So if you really have a hardship in life, and sometimes the hardship can be even too much debt, that can be a hardship. So you can dip into it to pay off your debt. But here's the issue: they're gonna ask you initially, do you want to take the taxes out from the amount that you're taking out? And you're going to say yes, and it's going to be a certain percentage. But this is where people got though. If your income, because it's going to go as income, if your income goes into another tax bracket because of that, you're going to have to pay taxes at that tax bracket. So you better add that into the equation, because you might say you might be on the cusp of, let me see, just hypothetically speaking, 50 is a certain tax bracket, 75 is another. So if you had 50 and then if you had 50 something, let's just say 58 or whatever, and you take out a certain amount and you get to 75, just 75 even, you're gonna get taxed at that 75 rate. So people who dip into that thing, if their tax bracket jumps up, they get stuck with this big ass tax bill that they're like, how the hell am I gonna pay this off? So they wind up in another situation. So that's one of the catch-22s about that.
You know, I got to, before we continue, and maybe I'm like thinking way outside of the box. Maybe I'm thinking from a place that might sound weird for a lot of y'all, but I remember somebody told me you need to have three. If when it comes to finances, you need 3 people: an accountant, a financier slash financial advisor, and a tax attorney. And all 3 will give you. Yeah, I could be wrong. I could be wrong for this, or maybe I'm thinking too high.
I'm gonna tell you what I know from my own life and people who around me who made way more money than me.
Okay.
You need to figure out how to do it yourself first. Because even if you get those people around you, if you have a certain amount of money, that a number that you don't have to pay attention to, it's gonna come up missing. Because you're not
good point.
You're not really vigilant in, I need to write this check. I need to look at this debit thing. I need to look at the tax part, because you got to learn it
good
first
point.
To know around about what's going to happen. Because what winds up happening, and even Derek was talking about the financial literacy part. I think part of it is this. I'm gonna say us and Gen X, we're the wrong people to talk about financial literacy, because we part of the get it out the mud generation. We don't know what you're talking about.
Good point. Good point.
But we saw our parents and grandparents like that too. So the people who had the best financial acumen was the people that did everything cash.
But I think, and for people, the younger generation like Derek and them that's younger, what you think about this L.A.R? Because I'm gonna say this to Derek too. I'm glad that he's talking the way that he's talking. How old are you, Derek?
37.
I'm glad that he's speaking the manner in which he's speaking. Only thing I say, I stand on, like, you know, you about 4 years older than my oldest child. Only thing I would just say to you is, in this world, you got people out here that think like you, that's doing what you're doing. They are married at 37. They have children. They live maybe out in the suburbs somewhere, or, you know, they're doing well for themselves because they separated themselves from certain groups, because not all, certain groups of people that don't want to change. So it's not just that bad. Like, there's a lot of people out here, women and men, that think like you, that's black, that are together. I'm around them that are together, that have their stuff together. So like, once you get that, I hold them accountable, because I say, but once you have all this knowledge and you know all this, then you should already be in line with the people that think like you. You should be around those type of people, because they exist. They're there. I'm one of them.
And that right there, George. And right there, George, that's the important thing right there. I know you guys came from the generation getting out the mud, but you also understood the importance of networking with people and getting with people who can transfer. See, that's the thing, because we all need some type of support system, and have some people we can, who are like-minded and come together. Because it was like somebody once said to, there's a good friend of mine who was like, and for us, in fact, in your case, George, what you said earlier about once you turned your life around, you had to go through the hard way.
Yes.
Unfortunately, even my mother told me this, and I learned this from my mother. Sometimes there's certain lessons you can only learn the hard way.
Yep.
But yeah, you'd be surprised how many guys got CTE from that way.
I had to make that choice. I chose.
Yeah.
And I
but anyway, the fact that you need to find like-minded people, because as the saying goes, either you change your friends or you change your friends. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Hold on.
That's what it is.
Okay,
go ahead.
Here's an issue.
Mm-hmm.
I got to do the deep breath. The old nigga in the club.
Oh, I thought we were building. My bad.
The old nigga in the club is super old now. The old chick in the club is super old now. See that? Like we like it. We like I was saying, like, you know, am I getting old, or am I, or the guy, or people get soft? The age has raised, and when I say being in the club, I just mean having that I want to be young phase. That I want to be young phase is stretched out real fucking old, to the point where it's people our age who now they want to be young again. So
you mean a second childhood of sorts?
Hell no, this ain't no second childhood.
No. Sorry. What's what I'm saying? Like they want to. It's a midlife crisis of sorts. No, sorry, that's what I meant to say.
No, I'm finna be a no. It's like a geriatric hoe phase. I got you, George.
Ooh.
Like
George, your camera's on.
He cool. Like.
Okay.
Okay. See, part of us don't want to go down this path. Like, you know, George married. Like I'm married or whatever. I'm like, don't let her hear that. She might hear me. But I realize as the older I get, there are people in my age group that did all that out. You know, how can I say that? That want to be young again, but still want to be settled down. And they're fucking up the pool in the younger generation.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So
they want to both. They want to have it both ways.
Yeah, like it'll be like, say, if I'm single again, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at I'll be looking at younger women, and I'll be like, okay, she don't want to have no kids. I don't want to have no kids. I can stretch this situation out and have a couple of these motherfuckers. And the same thing with the older women. You know, she could be a cougar, he could be a young Thundercat. We could stretch this situation out. But ultimately what it does is it sabotages younger people, their life. Because if they really want something past that, we're in the way. Like, just like we say the baby boomers is in the way of the financial system and the political system, we're part of us in Gen X, we're in the way of the millennials and zillennials actually having a good adult life because we fucking up that young shit.
Hey, can I ask y'all a question too then? And Derek, I want Derek to chime in on this because he brought up the economic part of it. I think when I look at today, and L.A.R, you appreciate this generation now have way more opportunity to make money than we ever had. They have way more access of making money with the social media in so many different ways. Where back in the day, a lot of times, man, like you might go get a job at McDonald's, or you know, I'm watching these kids today. What I see today, I see so many kids online making so much money. The only difference is they're making the money without the wisdom, because the process, like you can make money overnight today. And even when you sold dope in the 90s, it still was a process. That block ain't get jumping in 2 days. You had to go through trials and tribulations.
I'm gonna say this. I used to think that, but not so much anymore. Mm-hmm. Because to me, what has wound up happening is because of social media and because of laziness, there's more information to have the opportunity to make money. Yes. But it's so trendy that it's like hordes of people running the same direction, so it kills it.
Is there a reason why you're shadow banned?
Who?
You?
I don't even know. I don't even care To be perfectly honest, I've been on this shit so long. I don't even care.
Well, that's how I know your shadow
man.
band. Because your page, you should have way more subscribers. Because I've been a subscriber for many years,
Yeah.
so I know your shadow band, just like Mr. Z is.
Yeah,
But
like
you're the one who George should ask that question to, since you do social media and been doing it over 10 years.
no.
Well,
You gotta understand.
I don't have
Most
to
of the
ask
people
them,
I know on social media are way bigger than me.
but
So
I had this. I'm gonna tell you, there is L.A.R. fault. I had this conversation with L.A.R. L.A.R. could be a lot bigger than what he is if he want to. It's just the way that he do his content.
yeah, that too. But whatever.
But you're not
Yeah,
controversial.
yeah.
You barely even curse.
Uh, let's just say, how can I put this? The person that I am on a day-to-day basis, I tone down on this bitch because I don't want to be entertaining. I could be me and the shit would be more entertaining and it'll get more views, but then I feel like a dancing monkey and I ain't fucking with it.
There's a
But
purpose to this channel that some people, and
I don't.
the reason this
Okay,
channel has a purpose. That's what I'm trying to say.
let me rewind this just for the record. Back in the
Okay.
day, years ago,
Uh-huh.
I used to be one of the guys behind the scenes that was giving content creators that was bigger than me content when they would run out. So
Ah.
some of the messaging that you see with other people over the years, sometimes I was like, okay, what you could try this, and this, and it works for everybody else. It just didn't work for me, but I don't give a damn.
How's it going?
So, oh, and by the way, since George here, man, how about them Bears, man? Anyway,
Why you gotta do George like that?
Hey, we still
That's
in there,
wrong.
man. We still in there.
but one of the things that and this is for me, this is a nervous thing that I'm looking at. It makes me nervous when I look at the next generation of young men and women, whether if they have kids or if they don't have kids. I'm looking at the future of society because as we would talk about politically, the boomers, in my opinion, yes, they fucked up the money. Yes, they did. But what I'm looking at is generations of people who I don't know, it doesn't look like they'll be able to handle it and turn the ship around just in their own personal life because of it. And that's what, that's me as an older person looking, because I remember, my parents and grandparents would be like, look, man, I don't know if y'all gonna make it. And it took us some years, and it's like, oh man, y'all worked out just fine. We looking at y'all differently. But now I'm looking at younger generations. I'm like, oh damn, dog. And the crazy part is, one of the issues is materialism. And like I said, that's on us as older people. We got the younger folks acclimated to a middle class and upper class lifestyle that they can't fucking afford when they become young adults, and it's fucking them up. And if they choose to have kids, because I see people having kids like that. That's when we talk about when we make fun of people with these crazy ass primes, or these young people with these crazy ass cars and crazy ass outfits and clothes, and we like, yo, why the fuck are you doing that? Like, as a parent, because us as parents, we look at other parents like, bro, that's not a good idea. Like, my kid needs to do this, but your kid can't afford it. Like, I had the conversation with my son about, man, I need to be on the phone. I'm like, look, if you on the phone so much and you can't afford a phone, you're fucked. If you want to play video games but you can't afford the Wi-Fi, you're fucked. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm looking at a society of people. When I'm looking out, I'm like, bro, you're not gonna make it. And just for a caveat, just for reference, am I talking about black people? Yes, but I see that with black immigrants and their kids. I see that with non-black people and their kids. I'm like, yo, this is not looking good.
I can agree with that. Especially how ill-prepared certain people are. And how much Well, you said it all, man. You said it all. But I guess so, because like the other groups who are watching this on the outside looking in, we're like, what's going on? And there's a perception of things. It's the perception that's the problem. And nobody's having the serious talk about what to do or how to be responsible with certain things. I had to learn the hard way how to be responsible for certain things. And fortunate for me, it's like, I had somebody to sit me down and like, say, why you need this? What are you trying to do? And then understand. And then later in life, I learned that if I need a certain device or something on me, it has to serve a purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm going to have a phone, that phone's got to be with me for a reason. Not just for frivolous things. I mean, I look at young people, I sometimes ask them, why do you need a new iPhone? Why do you need a new Samsung? What's the point of it? Why? Is it just because of these features and that? You don't fall for the consumerism. Don't fall for, you just need to do this, that, and third just because. There's got to be a reason for these things, Some people just being too reckless with that. You know what I'm saying?
Like when I say people are set up for failure, part of that is the phone thing. Because it's not necessarily the phone thing that's the issue. It's the idea of, why are you paying $25 a month for this damn $1,000 phone?
Yeah.
Or why are you doing Uber Eats? What are you doing? It's the acclamation. And I see it when I see parents say going to high schools, right? I see these parents pulling up to these high schools. Oh, I'm dropping off lunch to my child. And I'm like, why is lunchtime and why is 50 motherfuckers out here with Chick-fil-A, Whataburger, Chili's, and fucking, just Chipotle? I'm like, well, why your kid can't eat lunch?
Because you got to attribute that generation to the social media era. Everybody's keeping up with the Joneses. Everybody's it was similar when we were growing up back in the day. People, it was just not as widespread now because social media. You could remember, put it this way: when we were growing up, the world was a closed fist. Now, this is my analogy of it. Now the world is an open hand, and I could sit and I could be in the palm of my hand. I could touch each finger from the palm of my hand now, and each finger represent the planet. I can be everywhere. Back in the day, you couldn't do that. So now these kids, these parents, and these kids, they're influenced by everything. So everything is about the show. Everything is about that. That's just where we at in the world. And it was like growing up, it just wasn't as widespread.
I could agree with that, George. Because like I said also about the appearance and wise and what you said, keeping up with the Joneses. It's just everything's just so instant, and nobody and everybody's so caught up in the moment that nobody's taught to be logical in their thinking. Or in fact, here's something that's important. L.A.R, I'm sure you could agree with this. How many of us have been taught to use our critical thinking skills? Be skeptical about certain things. You know what I'm saying?
Man,
that's been taken away from the. Am I wrong for saying that?
No,
you're not wrong. But
I'm right. But my thing is, how much of that has been anesthetized or debilitated to the point that some people just act irrationally or just act on impulse, and how that's been carried over to the next generation. Everything.
But that's because the process of things has gone away. Everything is instantaneous now. So when everything is instantaneous, remember we grew up in the file cabinet era. You gotta go.
I remember the file cabinet. Yeah. Oh man, your full file cabinet going to like 4 or 5 different places to get one thing done, but they'd be like, "We'll come back later, come back later, come back later." All paperwork.
But think about
now everything's been streamlined. Yeah.
But think about it. The book report era. Now watch this. I do this analogy all the time when I'm teaching in my program. The book report era. If the teacher gave me an L.A.R. an assignment to do that's due in 3 weeks in the book report, while doing that book report, we acquired 5 different other things that we wasn't even expecting to acquire in completing the book report. We acquired knowledge through the advent of the process. When you take that process away, right, and now this generation got to go through something. Critical thinking go out the door because they took the process away. That was done on purpose. I don't blame the kids for it. If the system is doing that, that's part of the agenda. Take away the process.
Thank you.
Take away their critical thinking.
Thank you.
It's here. There comes a point where
Mhm.
does critical thinking exist? Yes. Are people using it? No. But a lot of people
Mhm.
know are running from it purposely.
Okay. All right.
There comes a point where, and I hate to do this. Okay, well, when I say I'm different than I am off here, I'm gonna talk like I talk off here for a few seconds. We can accept a stupid motherfucker for being a stupid motherfucker, but you can't play stupid and be stupid. See, now you got motherfuckers playing stupid and being stupid and trying to act like that shit is smart. So now it's like, okay, so you an idiot and you a genius, and you're gonna only be a genius when you feel like it, but you're gonna be an idiot when you feel like it too. And I'm supposed to play this stupid game with you. So how about I let you drown? Mm-hmm. And I say that because you see it in social media with a bunch of people. You see a bunch of people making content, and you can tell when they're making content they're a fucking idiot. But you can tell by their comment section they got the agreement of a lot of fucking idiots. So stupidity has been monetized. Lacking critical thinking has been monetized. That's why people keep regurgitating talking points. Same thing when you go outside and you hear motherfuckers saying the same shit over and over and over again, and you like, bro, you know that really don't make sense when you think about it. And then well, you're a bot, you're this, you're that. It's like, oh, your responses are even canned. How about this? At the end of the day, when you go to sleep and you wake up in the morning, who thought for your fucking ass today? Like, because they're thinking for you in your sleep. Like, people forget that when they asked you back in the day, like, hey, what do you think is more important? The things you watch or the things you listen to? And usually the things you listen to are more important because they reverberate in your brain in your sleep. So a lot of people are listening to stupidity, they're going to sleep on stupidity, and they're waking up double stupid.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that.
Time where critical thinking was even in mass, because I mean, I really don't expect most people to. It was. Go ahead.
Yeah. Like, okay. Here's the thing. Like when people talk about woke now, it's bastardized. But what it was I would say I use it in an entertainment sense. Let's just say from the 50s to probably about the early 2000s is when it died out, because people didn't have corruption was hand to hand. See, there was a time where, because there was no cameras, there was no evidence, you dealt with America's bullshit face to face, hand to hand. So you had to think your way through other people's bullshit because you knew it was coming. Now, because we're so socialized using technology and the internet, we don't really see the bullshit for bullshit. So like if you listen to people, I would say from the 50s to the 2000s, when they talk, you can tell, oh, it's something beyond that. That's why you would have all of these when they play the game, say the phrase, don't judge a book by its cover. Because people had their different profiles by their different looks. But if you talk to them, they might have been this look, but their brain was far beyond just the look that they presented. Now what you see is an amalgamation of people's look. Like, this is what a smart person look like. This is what a dumb person look like. This is what a jock look like. This is what a thug looks like. This is what a politician. Everybody's fitting a certain bill aesthetically, but they don't have anything beyond that.
It's all surface level, no depth.
Yeah. Like back in the thinking was far beyond. Like, you could go look at videos of Fred Hampton talking and go, he was 20. He was 20 when he said that shit. He was 21.
He was 25. Biggie was
So
he was a minority though. It's always been a minority.
No, you can look at George Carlin.
He wasn't.
You can listen to George. If you listen to
George Carlin.
If you go back then, most people hated people like Malcolm, Fred Hampton.
No, where you get that from?
No.
Derek, hold on. Hear him out. Hold on. Hear him out.
I want to know where you get that from.
All right, you go back to videos with Malcolm X talking to, it was some reporter back in the 60s, back when he was alive, and yet they could easily go right down the street and you see many more people who would speak against him. And it was more blatant back then. So critical thinking's always been more of a minority type thing. It's never really been a mainstream thing.
Well, based off of what you're saying, when you look at the movements of that era with the rights that you have now to go forward, it wasn't a minority thing. It was a thing that was moving us forward. Critical thinking. Now you had the tractors, but you had millions of people that also agreed. When Carmichael said "power to the people," millions of people put that fist up. When John Carlos put that fist up in the Olympics, millions of people put that fist up. So that's a misnomer, bro. You always had haters and coons and sambos, but where we at today, how we was able to move forward, it was because of critical thinking.
I'm gonna say this, and I know this to be true. Shit changed when PBS died.
Ooh.
Because what happened?
Say it again.
Shit changed when PBS died. Like, and it's crazy because I'm 46, Derek, you 37. They can't. I know me and you didn't watch the same type of documentaries. We didn't have the same type of information because I remember when they started shutting that shit down. I get what you're saying though, but they used to have more in-depth information to go, and you would know, this is how it really went down. Because what we do now is we don't know the backstory a lot of times because the backstory get crushed. And I get what there were people who were detractors, but a lot of them back in the day, they were kind of the same way we talk about coons now on social media. It was the same thing. They would have like 2 or 3 people who were on the opposite side, and sometimes they would have them have personal debates with each other live on camera. And if you notice, if you can find some of those things, because Malcolm was in some of them, Martin was in some of them, Ali was in some of them, Dick Gregory was in some of them, James Baldwin was in some of them. The
A-Trap Brown.
Yeah. The person who was anti that movement was always looked at. Their talking points was always looked at with a side eye because they couldn't really make a good point. So
yeah, that's what I was getting at right there. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you had critical thinkers, but most people, I mean, they would probably follow most people really just kind of probably stayed on the sideline, to be frank. It's never really been a large number of critical thinkers. It's not, I mean, you have the people who stand out who are critical thinkers, but it's always been more of a minority type thing.
No, that's not true.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna explain something. So when Jacob earlier asked me where I'm from, right? And I said the 3 places. So this is in my lifetime. The neighborhood I grew up in and went to school in, high school, was Fred Hampton. Okay.
It's called what again?
It's where Fred Hampton grew up.
Oh, okay. It was where he grew up. I thought you said it was called Fred Hampton.
No, it was where. No. The center was on 5th Avenue. But I know from that, like, I didn't know Fred Hampton as a teenager. You get what I'm saying? Because he was dead. But old boy Bill, it was reverberating in the neighborhood. Is that the motherfucker that owned a gas station? You get what I'm saying? But I was in that era. I was in DC. It's crazy enough to say it when Doug Williams was the first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl, and they got rid of him, and he couldn't play in the NFL no more. I was there when what is the you know who I'm talking about. I can't think of his name. The mayor, the one that got caught in crack.
Marion Barry.
When he got because that was the same time period.
You talking about bitch set me up? Yeah. The bitch set me up.
Yeah. But
my apologies for my bad for cussing.
No. But that was the same era. Like, ironically, the EU era, which AKA doing the butt and all of that happened at the same time there. In Chicago, and here's a weird part. I was in New Orleans the DMV and Chicago when they all was the most violent, quote unquote. And when I tell you when I experienced with people, because I was a kid, you know, like I graduated high school at 17. It was a lot, like we were poor as a group of people, but we were definitely critical thinkers. Like the people who could critically think, that was a mass thing, because we used to get in trouble in school, because even with the Gen X thing, we were getting in trouble for being smart. We were supposed to be lost, and especially the black boys, you were supposed to be ignorant and stupid and only could play sport. The minute you spoke up and started speaking, people was like, man, no, you got to get rid of it. Like, you got to get rid of this nigga because he's too smart. It was too many of us. Back in that time, it was too many adults like that who taught us. Our grandparents were like that. Our parents were like that, you know, and we were like that. Because if you look back, and you even talk to if you hear some of the people talk from now that were in that era, whether they were grown or young, you will see like, damn, these motherfuckers, they're a whole lot smarter than they let on.
Could you let's make it simple and plain. When we were growing up, critical thinking was in the community. See, I think what gets missed is you take Philadelphia, you take Harlem, you take Washington, D.C., you take Chicago. In the street where the dope boy was selling the dope, you had the other homie coming through the block saying it's a black thing you wouldn't understand. Teaching. Red, black, and green medallions, talking about South Africa and what was going on. Those teachings permeated through the hood, the Nation of Islam, the Black Liberation Army. All that stuff was there. Tupac whole stick came from that, right? When I was growing up, we had Public Enemy and the X-Clan, and all those, that stuff was there. It was there just as much as the crack was there.
Matter of fact, this was the going phrase when you got home. Learn what they got to tell you in school, but we're gonna tell you the real shit when you get home.
Yeah, and I grew up there with Big Mama in the house. Nobody was more of a critical thinker than Big Mama. Big Mama saw everything and had the wisdom, and because Big Daddy was dead by the time. She would give you nuggets that you thought you was, man, all right, my mom, all right, and then you go out there and fall right on your face. And then she tell you, I told you so. I tried to warn you. I told you this is what happened. So no, that stuff was there. It was all in the community. The critical thinking, the famous people got famous, but a lot of those famous people was taught by the people that you don't know about. That was always in our community. It started to go away over time. But when I was growing up, that stuff was everywhere. It was all over the place. That's why I said there, when I began to change my life, it was a brother named Zachary Rickers in the prison cell. He was the first person outside of my father that I actually listened. That man told me, he said, young man, you know you have a choice. And I looked at him like L.A.R. like he had 7 heads. What do you mean I got a choice? And he told me I had a choice. And he was the one that gave me the game that helped me change my life. But guess what? That stuff was always there. I just was running away from it because I wanted to do what I wanted to do. But it was in the community.
Now, I do remember Tariq kind of did speak about this once back in his Mac Lessons days. He said that the black community was smarter and it got dumbed down in the 80s during the crack epidemic.
After the crack epidemic, as time went on, yeah, it got dumbed down as time went on.
Like now our, let's just say, stupidity and ratchetness, that's because people want to be that. And the reason why they want to be that is because it don't take much effort and responsibility. See, people don't want to be our great-grandmothers, great-grandfathers, grandmothers, grandfathers, because they had a lot of fucking responsibilities. People ran from the responsibility. That's why you see a lot of the stupidity and the ratchet behavior, because they know, like, man, do I want to be the house that everybody come to? Do I want to be the people that everybody want to come hang out? No. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna act like a fucking idiot. Because we used to have like everybody would be in the same area. You would have the people who was just fun, and the people who was, we gotta handle business. And everybody would be in the same group, same family. But what happened is the fun people, when they got older, they didn't want to turn into the parents and grandparents. Because they even leaned on their parents and grandparents to the point of killing them. So they didn't want to be there. That's why to this day, and it's fucked up, I gotta say this. I tell people that's younger people like in their 20s and 30s, like, man, what happened to the black community? I'd be like, you. Like, what do you mean? Like, listen, why do you like all the fun shit that you talking about, all the good shit you talking about? It was your age group that had to do it. Because the grandparents was like, no, I did mine. Y'all got to do it. So all them family get-togethers, barbecues, cookouts. You might remember Thanksgiving was the old people, and sometimes Christmas was the old people. But everything else, you was in your 20s and 30s doing that shit.
Yep.
So when it was your time to get everything together, it's like I ain't doing that shit. But here's another nugget about it that's real too. When we started, like in the 90s, when A Different World came out, it increased the black population going to college. It just shot up, which is part of the reason why the college tuition shot up, because they wanted to act like, we're gonna price these niggas out, and they fucked everybody. But one of the issues with that was people was going to college and going to the military and graduating colleges and getting out of the military, and they was moving to different cities away from their family. So now you're really, younger people don't have the same environment because we moved out so much. Like, the irony of it is, even me as a person, I got family in Philly I ain't never seen. Dead ass serious. I got family in Arizona. I got family in Compton. I got family live in Chicago. I got family in Carolina. I got family in Georgia. Like, we are spread out. You know what I'm saying?
Can I take the gloves off and just say something? I'm gonna prove some of what Derek was saying in the beginning to be 100% true. I gotta just say it, because I can't be a hypocrite, because I say this on my channel a lot. Where you at, Derek? Come back on.
Tell George to shut the hell up.
Watch this, Derek. Hey, where you at, Derek?
He right there.
No, I want to make sure he there, because I want him to hear this. What I'm about to say. Hey, Derek, I'm gonna agree with you on something you said.
I'm here.
I'm gonna agree with you on something, because I say this on my channel a lot. After Big Mama died, we're gonna go a generation in between. We're gonna go me and L.A.R's parents' generation. So the generation, my parents' generation, and then my grandmother. So I'm not saying, because my father did a great job. My father was a great man, but outside of that, and watch this, tell me if I'm wrong, name of L.A.R. The beginning of the downfall started with the children of our grandparents. Our parents' generation fucked a lot of shit up. They started getting high on the drugs and partying. Big Mama died, they sold the house. Some of them took out an extra mortgage on the house because they was getting high, or they was doing all kinds of schemes and everything. So a lot of things that Big Mama and Big Daddy set up and set in play, they fucked it up. Because Big Mama had the insurance policies. She had everything set up, and when she died, a lot of our parents' generation didn't keep things going. And then they got hooked on crack, and then we was the generation selling crack to them. And then y'all came after us. But that generation, from our grandparents' generation, migrating from the South out of Jim Crow, coming into Detroit, Philadelphia, getting jobs, sending them to school, sending my parents and them to school, owning houses and all that kind of stuff. When they died, a lot of our parents' generation dropped that ball significantly. So now what happens is, when we talk about history right there, and we was to talk about history right now and accomplishments, we got to start from today and go right to our grandparents' era. We got to skip our parents' era. All the accomplishments that moved us forward started from our grandparents' era going backwards. That middle era, that's the gray area. And that's the area that we got to pay attention to, because that was the era that dropped the ball from the grandparents. It was our parents' era, unfortunately. And that's just the truth.
I'm going to say something that sucks. Okay. 80s, 90s, 2000s. For Black America, that's where the vast majority of your first-time college graduates came from. And the reason for that is, like he was talking about, the families kind of, when granddad and grandma died, this is what do you call that? Let me use part of my family. When I met my great grandmother, she was living in the St. Thomas projects in New Orleans. The reason my great grandmother was living in the St. Thomas projects was because my great grandfather died, and he owned land, acres, cattle, and oil, because it was oil on the property. When he died, the white people in that town tried to kill my great grandmother, so she had to run to New Orleans and live in the quote unquote projects so they wouldn't fight. So when I was like 6, 7, my great grandma was living in the projects because they basically ran off and they stole the land. And my granddad was a Korean War vet, and because this happened a lot too. So even when Tyree talks about the GI Bill, and a lot of black veterans didn't get the GI Bill or whatever, so
they got shafted.
Yeah. So what they would do is the guys would come back from the war, because it was still Jim Crow, really. And quote unquote, the Jim Crow housing practices didn't stop until like the mid 80s. But I ain't even talking about the mid 80s when I'm saying this though. He bought houses, but he couldn't buy a house because he was a black man. So he had to buy a house through like a white guy, and the white guy has to buy the house. He pays the white guy, and what the white guys would do would, they would set up these, okay, pay me like this, pay me like this. So when you would hear white people in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, talk about their rental property, a lot of that shit came from the black people paid off the fucking house, and then they go, oh, you was late by a day, it's in the contract, I'm voiding it, you got to find another house. That's where a lot of that shit came from, especially in the white community. So when they have multiple houses, that's where that came from. Then you have when you talk about with the parents and the great grandparents, they had to start over, and then they wind up owning shit. And then the kids was like, I don't want to live that struggle, so I want to feel like I'm somebody and rich. So part of that Raisin in the Sun shit. If anybody's seen the Raisin in the son always wanted to be a businessman, so he ran off with the dad's retirement. And got scammed like in a day, and they wound up broke again. Mm-hmm. That's the underbelly of a lot of the stuff that George talking about, that had some of the folks in the streets, like when they was younger dealing drugs, because it was like, damn, like, because you would see family members with nice cars, but the house is kind of shabby, and you're like, how the fuck? And they had these fur coats and shit, and you're like, what the fuck? And then you come to find out, like, that's what happened. And now, they go broke in like 2 years. And it's like, look, man, I know I'm screwed. Like, I can't, like, I'm not even going to try to worry about this. So then you had us doing, some of us took penitentiary chances, other of us doubled down in like academics and athletics. And that's how you got especially the black part of Gen X. That's how you got that. And I'll say it now, after that, we fucked up the kids.
And a lot of our grandparents left land, but so let's just say L.A.R.
We didn't want to live there.
Let's say L.A.R. up in Chicago. His grandfather passed away in Louisiana and leave land. L.A.R. don't want to go down there. You know what he do? He sell it. They sell it. That's what happened, man. And it's the truth. So a lot of things that we got today. Now we could talk all day about racism. We could talk about what they didn't give us. But one thing I know about black people and been online for so long, we don't like some truth hurt. Some truth sting real bad. And everything, the white man did what he did to us. But there's a lot, and L.A.R. know this because he just talked about it. There's a lot of things that we threw away that our grandparents left. Like we totally just shitted on their accomplishments. They left a lot of stuff for us, man. And we didn't. We seen like we look at their struggle and said, well, we don't. What's the name on TV right now in DC? The quarterback. But we tried to go the other way. You know what it's attributed to now, L.A.R. It's kind of like the young people today. When they get their reasons for why they don't want to get married or why they looking at our struggle and they attribute it to theirs. That's the same thing we did with our grandparents, and we threw away a lot of generational wealth because of that, and we still paying a price now. And I often talk about that on my channel. Like there was a lot of homeowners here in the East Coast corridor. Man, they sold them houses. Man, they sold them. They gave them up, or they didn't keep the mortgage up, and they lost the house.
And I forget to say this, and I hate to say this. I would say that one of the issues that Gen X has with baby boomers is part of this financial issue, but it's something a little bit worse. We saw some of our elders trying to live the high life, knowing that the cops was preying on us, and they didn't give a fuck. So it hardened us to a lot of shit. So because like I said, like I've said this years ago, people me and George age and a little bit younger, we all know what it's like to get a gun pulled on us as a kid by a cop. We're glad that our kids don't really have that. They don't really like. If you ask a black man born at least probably let's say 84 and under, we all know it. But you go older than that, it dies off. You know, we know the experience of teachers failing us because we black. You know what I'm saying? We know that experience well. We know, like our kids, we sheltered them and we protected them in some way. We protected them, we're supposed to, but we sheltered them also to the point, and I hate to do this, and I gotta say this way, even with our struggles, we became those very older people who fucked up the money because them people wanted to be white and show white folks I can have something. Now we became the parents and we made our kids fucking white.
I always say that because see, one thing I had an issue with, I'm conservative. I'm black conservative, right? I'm super conservative. But I don't feel like I have to placate or ingratiate myself to white folks to be a conservative. That's bullshit, right? I have conservative views, conservative values because my grandmother had conservative views, conservative values. But she also knew who she was. What's wrong with just being around decent black people? That's it. I ain't got to be around no white folks. I ain't proving nothing to them. I be around black folks that have a higher standard for themselves, that want to do better, but don't think that they're better than anybody. They just want better for themselves. Those are conservative values. I think that we got lost in that those way of thinking. Because I'm gonna tell you, think of this, Naima. Think of this. When Grandma was alive, I don't care how much. I don't care how much money you made. If you had $40 million in the bank in 1989, Naima, as a grown up, and you tried to move your grandmother out her house, she ain't moving.
She didn't want because she didn't want nothing. Why? Because first and foremost, she'll let you know, baby, I'm too old. I don't need a lot. I just need some simple, because at that age, she just wants simple things. I mean, a prime example would be like...
it was deeper than that, Naima. They did.
Yeah, I was getting to that. Yeah, I was getting to that. She learned how to be content with what she had. You know what I'm saying, George?
Yeah.
She understand she had to be what contentment was. She was grateful for what she learned how to be grateful for what she had, what little she had. And when she told you, listen, I don't really need so much. I know you want to take care of me, but you know, I just need this, that, and the third. That's all. I'm very content with where I am. Because like I have my grandmother. My grandmother had two. One lived to see 95. The other lived to see 86. And they still had so much to teach us about life. Because, you know, the old folks, with the lessons in life they got to teach us is prepare us to not to fear death and what to do when they're gone and carry on whatever traditions they bestowed on us. But but those values they taught us was for a reason. And they didn't, but it was about how to be content with what you had and be grateful for where you are in life. And accept that, I'm at this age, this is how I need to be, and I'm good. And I'm pretty sure your grandmother would have told you, George, baby, I'm good. You just take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Do right by my grandbabies. Do right by my great grandbabies. That's what I need you to do. I remember my grandma. I'm not African American, by the way. I'm African, but It was the same thing they taught us. Do right by with the future generation. You make sure you pass on what we taught you to the next generation. And you don't have to be you don't have to fit a certain mold because they taught you how to be yourself. They taught you who you are and where you come from and carry that history with you. So you had to also learn, but you also taught you how to be content with search. That's the problem. There's no contentment. Folks don't know how to be content. Don't know how to be grateful for what they have because the way this world is set up, it's made to make you believe you're lacking something, and you feel a sense of emptiness. I mean, me personally, I stay away from a lot of social media because that shit upsets me. It bothers me in a certain way. And I remember when I was a youngin, how much commercials and consumerism would fuck me up. So I had to learn how to step away from all this. And I remember what my family told me about being content. But go ahead.
I think the vast majority of Black America now lives better than our parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents. We just don't. I think some of us are just out of touch with how other people live. Because some of us didn't bring our kids back to those environments. Mm-hmm. A lot of younger people haven't gone back to where their family is originally from to see how far they've come. And I think that's part when you talk about content, that's part of the issue. Like people don't realize, like I remember, like, damn, I didn't.
Or how to be humble for that matter. Or how to be humble.
You don't have to have humility if you've never lived a humbling life.
Hmm.
Like Black America based fuck. Black America.
Take your time.
No, I'm about to be cold-blooded. The reason why I was asking are men getting soft is because, and I said it at the beginning, Black America has caught up to white and immigrant America. When I say immigrant, it's just like Asian, Hispanic. We've caught up to them in the sense of our kids actually believe the American hype because we gave it to them. They actually believe we got an equal opportunity to make it, and everybody's on the level playing field, and everybody got an honest shot, and that's the shit that's not true. It looks better. Like if you live in certain environments, it looks a whole lot better than it used to look, but the kids got soft because they think, oh, I got the opportunity to make it, and there's no hunger there because even when I see people who are quote unquote, our Black people, I hate to say this, and this is what annoys me about like younger Black America, and I'm gonna be cold blooded for a second and just say it. You niggas trying so hard to be activists, but you ain't got nothing. You ain't got no experience in having issues. So not being even a Black activist is some made up shit for too many of y'all. Because as a Black person going through this, bitch, that's not you. That ain't your ministry, G. You didn't grow up like that. Now you making up random Black downtrodden people to protect from a situation your fucking ass never lived and don't even know of.
It's just truth to that.
We're
truth to that. But L.A.R, let me ask you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, finish it.
No, go ahead.
Well, I want because when we talking about grandmom and not moving out the house, one thing that was left out was Big Mama and Big Daddy didn't want to. You could be worth 100 million. They want to stay in that community where they from. You know why? Because they put everything that they blood, sweat, and tears when they came up from the South, or ones that was already up here. Everything that they built in those communities. Everything that moved the civil rights era and moved us forward to get us those rights came from those communities that they lived in. And then we get some money, we want to abandon it and leave it and tear it up. Big Mama, that was her life. Big Mama said, leave and go where? That was always her response. Go where? Where am I going? This is what we built for y'all. Y'all tearing it up.
I'm not going. Those people made our childhood so memorable. This is where we fit. Like, and some of y'all might get this, some of y'all might not. we used to like. Let me just a throwback thing. I would go to work from now every now and then and have a gang of Kool-Aid, frozen Kool-Aid cups. And it'll throw people back to their child. I'm going to work with this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I got like 30 of them, just like, what's up? You know, we having the people who used to sell us candy and make Kool-Aid cups and sell us pickles and sit down and just talk to us and tell us about life. Who would teach us how to cook, how to sew, how to cut the grass, how to paint the walls. You know, who made us work on cars.
Like, that sexist community.
Yeah, like that is completely gone. You know what I'm saying? Like people don't realize, and I told people back in the day, one of the issues we had in our community is people actually thought street niggas was running the community. And I'm like, no, street niggas was running the streets, but it was old grown men that was working that they knew to stay the fuck away from.
Yep.
Because them niggas will break your neck. Like he just worked a 12-hour shift. He ain't feeling your bullshit right now. You be tough with them niggas. He gonna hurt you and wind up doing life somewhere because you pissed him off.
And ain't give a damn about what gang he was a part of or nothing. And them niggas in the gang be like, oh, yo, that's Mr. George right there, man. That's such and such. Now leave that nigga alone. I don't care how big of a gangster you was. Back then they knew, yeah, what you saying is spot on, is 100%. Mr. Clarence wasn't no joke in the hood.
There were certain people that were told, you know, if I'm not mistaken, there were certain cats that were told, like, you know, yo, see that little man right there? Leave him alone. He's going places. He don't need to be out here in the streets with us. Tell Shorty, tell the little man over there, come here. What you doing here? No. Go home. No, go home. Yeah, go ahead.
We started making fun of those people. And I saw it, you know what I'm saying? The dude that was the garbage man, you started making fun of him. The old lady that was cooking in the house, you started making fun of her. Like everybody became, you know, broke and it has been. It's like, yo, G, no. I'm gonna be honest. Like,
you know when that happened, L.A.R? When the feds came in and locked it. It's messed up because these guys was helping destroy the community, but they also was helping keep the community together. When a lot of those big time I always talk about it, our underworld. Every community has an underworld. The Italian mafia, the white Irish. They didn't throw those guys away for 100 years. Those guys ran the same community, was doing the same thing. They used that money to develop their communities and develop their people. We demonized, criminalized ours and threw them away. And when we did, part of a shift of the community fell apart because everything was working together in unison.
Okay, let me add to this. And I'm gonna say the part that George, he know, but he like, damn. Too many of us idolized them damn white gangsters when them niggas were snitches and rats. And part of the reason why so many brothers got locked up is because them white people told on. They told on it to save their ass. They told on the other black folks. Because if you Italian, if you white, if you Irish, if you Jewish, if you Hispanic, snitching doesn't count if you're doing it to black people.
Yep. There you go.
And they snitched on all the black people first, and then they started snitching on each other because when the heat got too hot.
There you go. And what they did when they criminalized us, they took all our wealth. When they criminalized the Gottis in them, they kept their money and their assets and everything else. And a lot of those Irish and stuff like that, they took all our wealth. They put everybody in jail for 1,000 years, and they make movies. They make movies about the stuff that they did. So, and I'm not, because there's a lot of bad things that happen in our community, but there's a lot of bad things that happen in their communities as well. They just don't publicize it the way that they do ours. They sensationalize it through movies. So it's just a lot, man.
I said this maybe a couple of weeks ago, and just talking about the criminal aspect of American racism. Even us as black folks, we overlook white criminality because white criminality is so normal in America, it's not crime. To the point that if you get in your modern car today, there's a latch in your trunk because people was getting snatched and kidnapped and put in trunks.
Yep.
That wasn't a safety issue. That was a criminal issue. But we act like it ain't nothing wrong because white people used to do that all the damn time.
Yep.
to the point that white people started having to go, okay, we need to help people out because they're killing people left and right.
Yep, man, it's deep, man. And we're not saying that like we just support violence in the community, but there's a lot at play when back in the day during the prohibitionary, who you think was funding the churches? Who you think was funding a lot of underground, a lot of the civil rights movement underground? It wasn't just Jews. Shit that went on underground. It was a lot of the underworld. Black underworld was funding a lot of shit. Don't get it twisted. So don't let them make you believe that only the Irish and Italians was doing this, and only time we had help was when we had help from white folks. That's a goddamn lie, man. That's a lie. It's a lie. There's a lot of things that sacrifices and things that was being made. I mean, it's just a lot that come with that, man, that we lost. But
Let me add something to add to that. So it's a pivot, but it's not. That's part of the reason why y'all hear the stereotype that black businesses got bad customer service and don't go there. Because part of the whole dynamic was there was a lot of people who was legal and illegal that was starting businesses. And the only way to undercut them was to get their ass either locked up or to sabotage their business. So one of the reasons why you don't see as many black businesses as we used to have in our neighborhoods is because of that shit.
Yep. And I'm gonna say it because I gotta jump off. I'm gonna say this too. When it comes to selling dope, and especially in cities like Philly, Chicago, New York City, Washington D.C. Do you know why the feds really came in and locked up dudes? L.A.R. I'm sure you probably like why the feds swooped in. Because remember, they had sweeps 1986, 1986, 1990, 1994. 3 major sweeps across the country. It started in 86, 1990, because 86 is when they was bringing in the crack, but they were sweeping in, knocking up the heroin dealers. Then from 86 to 90, they let you run. 1989 and 90, they swept. And then in 1994, they had 3 major sweeps going into, and during those sweeps, it was Joe Biden had the 86 crack law, he had the 88 law, and then the 1994. But before they had the compensatory 82, right? Now the question I'm asking is, do you know why the feds swooped in and locked up all these black men?
From my recollection, 2 things important. One of them, it was niggas was making too much money. And it was so much money, people was too flashy, and people got mad. The second part was the violence was outrageous, and a lot of that violence got put on black folks when there was really white folks shooting shit up.
I would tell you, what in '89, Washington D.C. was the murder capital, and the black clergy was down there screaming and howling for white folks to come in and save them.
No. Hold on, pause right there. I was living there then. So here's the interesting thing, folks. Crime was so rampant back then. Mm-hmm. And I was a child when I said there was a place called Avenue E. It was a fire station. If you go behind this fire station on Avenue E and give them a certain amount of money, they'll steal whatever the fuck you want and give it to you. So some of y'all don't realize, people were stealing cars off of lots. That's why you got the protections you got now. People were stealing fucking washers and dryers out of the Macy's and grocery stores and fur coats and this is why the malls are set up the way they are now, because it was so bad.
Yeah, well, check it out, L.A.R. What they did was, remember, Philly, D.C. and Baltimore is right next to each other.
Right.
They didn't give a fuck about us killing each other. You know what they cared about? What happened was around about 1990, going into 92, black men started figuring it out. Because the brothers in the nation, you got to remember, East Coast Corridor, New York City, brothers in the nation and brothers in other places start telling we start buying property. So what happened was those brownstones, 3-story brownstones in Brooklyn and all in New York, here in Philly, DC, we start buying up those properties. Remember, at that time, they was $5 crack shacks.
Yeah.
So people was getting high on them crack. Now, they had an agenda. They knew that they was going to come in 20 years later, what they doing now, and buy up. They was making the property value plummet when they would come in years later and buy it all up for cheap, right? What we start doing was, and I figured this out when I was in prison. What we start doing was buying up the property because the
Renovate.
OGs say go buy up the property. Yo, you got 150,000 sitting around. Come on, let's go down to the auction. Let's get these properties, right? So what we was doing was just buying up property. We didn't know what to do with it or how. They was just telling us, yo, this is gonna be worth a lot of money. The feds, what happened was you had dudes that was out the game. They were $6, $7, $12 million. They ain't sold a kilo in 3 years. They coming to get indicted because what happened was when the colleges started to move up and down the avenue, they started buying the colleges and the hospitals, right? You owned the property in those spaces and places and you wouldn't sell because you wanted top dollar. They went and got the city council on you and got you indicted. You got indicted, so now this is what they would do. When you in federal court, they would say, yeah, well, we watched the L.A.R. movement organization for 6 years. In that 6 years, there was 14 murders. They made over $75 million throughout the organization. And you'll say, well, wait a minute. You was watching us for 6 years, so you said it was 14 murders. Why you didn't lock us up after the first murder? So you let 13 other murders over 6 years occur, and you never came? Well, you came when you said we made this much money. Well, how much assets did you take? Well, we took over, between the organization, we took over 63 properties, 14 cars, and $5 million. Well, wait a minute. How well, I'm confused.
Whoa. Stop right there, George.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually, they told people 5 million. It was actually 7.
Of course. But think about it though. You're in court. They're not even hiding it. They're telling you we watched 14 people die, right? While we allowed you to accumulate this wealth so we come in and take it. But the biggest thing was the seizure. We seized. They don't care nothing about the people that died. They only care when you start waking up with the wealth and buying the property. Because
that's partially what I meant.
Wait, real quick. Think of this. In Chicago, let's just say you put those guys away, but you never ever took away their assets. You let them keep that. You let the family or the brother or the sister keep the assets. And you fast forward that to now. Gentrification wouldn't be happening right now, bro, because niggas will own that shit.
That's part of when I said the money and they too flashy. Because a lot of that shit started because of the niggas was buying them Audis. I remember that year, them Saabs, yep. them one was the 128s. Was that the BMW 128s, the 130 Benzes?
190. 190. It was 190.
They was buying them suckers, and people was paying the fur coats because people don't realize in different cities people had different cars, jewelry, clothes, accessories. Everybody wasn't totally dressed the same. East had their thing, Midwest had their thing, South had their thing. You know what? So it looked a little different from city to city, but these niggas was flashy as shit, and it brought so much attention.
Yeah, you got a groups of people that came from nothing, and now they making money. And I'm something it sound crazy, but back then, women were taken care of, bro. Houses, a lot of houses y'all grew up in there, man. Your stepfather bought that house for your mom, man. And I'm not saying you in general, but I'm saying dudes had, man, listen, we took care. It was a lot of messed up stuff, but people was taking care of people, man. And I'm telling you, if you take a city like Philadelphia and you lock up 15 to 16 of the biggest dope boys in the city, how much property did they own in those communities? Now they're young and they're not doing everything right, but they never got a chance to actually mature into that money. You put them in jail before that.
But you also got to add the other part. It was overblown in my opinion. There were some people who tried to stash money with people, but most of them people got their money stolen. Mm-hmm. Most of the people got their. So some of y'all don't realize that some of these dudes came home broke, and they got thrown to the wolves because the people that they actually trusted, once they did 5, 10, 15 years, they robbed the shit out of them.
Yeah, but see, what I'm saying is, I get that, but I'm speaking on, it was levels to this thing. And cities like Philadelphia, population damn near 2 million people. Yeah. Chicago population damn near 4 million. I'm coming from the era where when you seen the movie New Jack City, people think that shit wasn't real. No, that was fucking real. That was a real thing. I'm talking about you walk outside to go to school and you seeing lines wrapped around the corner, right? I'm talking about open air, 24 hours a day, $50,000 to $60,000 every fucking day. These guys had so much money I mean, it was just unbelievable. And then what I'm saying is, they demonized us, but the Irish mafia was doing the same thing. The Italian mafia was doing the same thing. The small hat mafia was doing the same thing. The Albanians was doing the same thing. The Russians, the Asians, everybody. But when they go to jail, they was able to keep their wealth. We wasn't. That's the big difference.
The last time I saw something like that was about 2001, because I'm in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
People don't realize when people in Houston talk about syrup, that's prescription cough syrup. Nigga, if you ever watch the movies on pill mills, them doctors had them lines wrapped the fuck around the block. People trying to get syrup. Mm-hmm. And I remember it vividly because part of it was either Blind or the sophomore at the time. It's a street that goes to Texas Southern and University of Houston. If you get off of 288, it was like a pharmacy, like on the like right on the corner when you get off the freeway. Them people was out there lined up. So the same way if y'all go to Vegas now and they got them damn them weed dispensaries across from the casino. Same way you see them, it's this, like a lot of that stuff they legalize for their own purposes.
At L.A.R., you know how much wealth was built during Prohibition from the Irish and the Italians?
I can tell you specifically. When I was talking to you earlier about where I grew, I went to the same high school, you know, the same neighborhood as Fred Hampton. True story.
Right.
I was in high school and I ran track. Like I played football, wrestling, baseball, track. That's what I did. But in track, you do a 5-mile run. So my neighborhood, the neighborhood is Maywood. That's what it's called, Maywood. But we would go to the next neighborhood over. I always forget the name of that shit. But Fred Hampton Center was on 5th Avenue. The school is on 1st Avenue. So if you go if you look behind 1st Avenue, there's a big ass wood. So the woods separate the white suburbs from the black area. Okay. Fred Hampton died because the police shot the shit up. Right. So if I go about a mile, maybe mile and a quarter, past those trees, Frank White house is there. And if anybody knows about crime, Al Capone, Frank White was his right-hand man. His house was basically a mile and a half away from my high school. Whole neighborhood was fucking different. Manicure lawns, and the police was still, he was dead and gone by then. Still patrolling the area because they gotta protect the old gangster's house. That's American criminality for you, because it's the same. And the reason I said the distance, because it's the same damn police department from that 5th Avenue to the one.
But think about it, L.A.R. Let's go to policy. When you deal with policy from Chicago through Philadelphia up to through New York City, through Philadelphia up to Chicago with the policies, when you're dealing with the lottery, and how you had the family in Chicago and in Cleveland that created the lottery, then you had the Madame St. Clair's, you had all these black people that one family in Chicago was worth like $20 million. All the way back then, their net worth in their 30s and 20s was equivalent to $20 million. I forgot the family that the Chicago outfit stole. They stole it from them. They made them sell it out. They made them sell out because we didn't have the police protection that the Chicago outfit had. Theodore Teddy Rowe was the last one to fight, right? That was all through the policymakers coming out of Chicago. We had a lot of people we had an underworld, bro. They always went after our underworld because we was the former slaves that was supposed to be the consumers to everybody. That's the way they had the system set up. So when you come into the 70s and the 80s with the Rockefeller laws in New York City, John Gotti's family is worth millions still to this day. They didn't take his wealth. But here in Philadelphia, they took Aaron Jones's wealth. So my thing is,
talking about the RICO laws?
Yeah, well, when they brought in the RICO, they brought in those laws with the seizures laws, and they brought in laws to go against the mafia. But most of those mafia members, they didn't take their wealth. They allowed them to maintain their wealth when they came in, and the Asians, because the Asian mafia was selling all the heroin. So when they came in, when it was time for the blacks, they sensationalized us. Like they take, like think about this, right? When you go to Chicago, you think about the GDs, right? The GDs,
y'all the boogeyman, basically. That's what
yeah,
you guys have been made.
right.
You are the boogeyman at the end of the day because.
Hold on,
Okay, go ahead.
Hold on. Listen.
Go ahead. Sorry.
The GDs
Mhm.
had gangs in different cities across America. So they make the money hand over fist. But the problem is, watch this, L.A.R. What happens when these young people that's making all this money start to mature and grow up and start going political like they did in the 60s? We can't have that renaissance in the 80s, which was once a gang. Now we moving these niggas politically because we got the money and we can financially fund politicians now the way the other groups did it. We can start funneling that money, or we got to put these niggas in jail. So they put Jeff Fort in jail and say he's a terrorist, a black terrorist. They put all these black people in jail across America because the underworld is now starting to make moves and make money. Is when you start to mature into that money and start moving politically and start buying up your properties. Now you got to go to jail. They never cared about us killing each other. They care about us maturing into the money and saying, okay, we got to do it this way now. Now it's a problem. That's why they did. That's why the feds come in. Man, we can kill each other all up. They wouldn't give a shit. But if you take that same killer and from the south side and the same dude from the north side, and he said, yo, we're gonna put $5 million into buying up all this, we're gonna buy all this stuff, and we're gonna start giving these people jobs in the community. Oh, you got to get these niggas out of here. That's what they care about.
What are you guys supposed to be? What are black men? Well, what are black people at the end of the day? The designated underclass, right?
There you go.
They're gonna go out of their way to keep y'all in your position because they realize they need. Because remember, this economy runs on what? Since the inception of this nation, it's run on one thing. It's on the backs of who?
I'm glad you said that. That's what I needed to. That's part of the softness of America. Me and my homeboy Solo, for some of y'all don't know, Solo TV 84. He don't really do as much anymore on YouTube. That's my dog too.
Mm-hmm.
I told him years ago, I said, white people messed up the money. So part of the men becoming softer is basically because, and I hate to say it this way, these people need soft men to continue to do what they're doing because strong men will kick their teeth in. So creating an advantageous society of soft men means nothing is really going to change. Mm-hmm. So when we're talking, when I'm talking about guys, the men and women becoming soft, part of the issue is that soft people like symbolism, strong people like tangibles. So you see men, presenting themselves as I'm a man, but they're still soft, which means they'll talk a whole lot, but when it's time to do some action, they're really not gonna do it much. So people can still run their ass over because it's like, what you gonna do? Because when I say they messed up the money and they messed up the economy, they don't intend to fix it.
No, they're not gonna fix it. They're not gonna fix it. They're not gonna fix it, man. That's you just said a mouthful because I told my wife earlier, I said everything that you see Trump doing down their policies, you think when the Democrats get back in, they're gonna roll that stuff back? No, Trump is just the big bad guy to push things forward. But 90% of the stuff that they pushing forward, when the Dems get it, they're not gonna roll it back. It is what it is.
Like I say this about politics. People get in these political debates, and I always say everybody's stupid. And the reason I say that is because it doesn't matter which side you're on. If you're a Democrat or a Republican, it don't matter because of this particular thing. If the Democrats get in office and they do something that works for America, when the Republicans get in office, they're going to kill it. If the Republicans get in office and they do something that works for America, the Democrats going to kill it. So when you going to wind up in the same damn situation? These people have no intention of fixing anything in this country.
It's a status quo they need to maintain by any means necessary.
Yeah, it's the agenda is the agenda, regardless of whatever they present to you. The agenda is the same. And guess what? When it comes to the agenda behind closed doors, they bipartisan with that because they benefit economically from whatever agenda that's in place. All of them are financially invested. It's a
Two
joke.
wings on the same bird, my dude. It's two wings on the same goddamn vulture. Excuse my French.
I was gonna do a video on this because I got the
Oh,
clip.
okay.
No, I saved in my phone. I got a
Hey, I'm gonna jump off, L.A.R. I gotta
yeah.
get in
I'm gonna get out of here in a minute too.
Yeah.
There's a senator that was making skateboards. I want to say he was a senator, white dude, and he was like he made a skateboard, and because he was in the Senate, in Congress rather, they did an auction, and they sold a skateboard for $700. And he was like, shit, I should just make skateboards then if this is what we doing. And they told him, no. If you need a lawyer, you need a business partner, you need this, that, and the third. And his response was, he said, I'm at an attorney's office. And I'm like, so let me get this right. I can't make skateboards because I need all these things, but I can do insider trading. And the dude was like, yeah. So understand, this is how it's set up. Oh shit!
All right. He'll be back.
No, George gone. If you got something to say, Derek, if you got something to say, y'all say whatever y'all want. Then I'm gonna shut it down. I didn't realize I was on here this long.
That's cool, man. Hey, LA, thank you for having me up, man. It's always a pleasure to chop it up with you. We need to do this more often, man. I'll be keeping in touch, all right? You have a blessed Monday, all right? You have a blessed week. Stay safe out there. Love y'all.
Look, I ain't gonna go to sleep till like 2 a.m, so I get it. I will catch you later.
Hey, if you want, I'll call you later. All right.
I'll just say for folks to maybe read certain books. Like I know when I was younger, like in my early 20s, I read the book Personal Finances for Dummies. They helped me out tremendously. Also maybe read books like 48 Laws of Power. That book right there will educate you on life. If you don't have anybody to teach you, then just teach yourself.
Let me pause right there with you, because I'm glad you said that. I was gonna stop until he said, for everybody who ever read the 48 Laws of Power, I think people interpret it wrong, because the book is just about manipulation. So it's stories about people being manipulative. But the irony of it, after every story, they have a small section about how to kill that bullshit manipulation. And I think more people worried about the manipulation than how to destroy it. If you have, like, when you talk to people, am I right or wrong?
When I talk to people?
Yeah.
Are they worried about how to destroy them? Elaborate on your question so I can understand it better.
Like like when you read it, right? They have the story, they have the story part, then they have the little side stories on the side of it, right? And then they tell you all about, never outshine the master, and they tell you the story about the clergyman and the guy under him, and this, that, and the third. But then when you finish the chapter, at the end of it, they have a small section that says, this is how you stop people who do this, basically.
It's been years since I've read the book. Actually, I listened to the audiobook, but it's been years, so I don't really recall. I recommend that book because it's a good book, but I actually recommend it because I was already living the laws before I even ever read the book, to be honest.
Gotcha. Okay, well, because you listen to it, I get it. When you read it,
I was living those laws before I ever read the book. Then I read the book.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay. If you was living it and then you read the book, like Paris says in the chat, the book shows you how the same tactics destroys you as well. So part of the book, I've encountered people who use the book and they use the front part of it, and they don't remember the back part of it.
Oh, okay, I get you. You mean people commit themselves to trying to live it out completely and just go out and be terrible people, and then they get burned by the transgressions that are listed in the book. Is that what you mean?
Not just the transgressions, it's the actual responses to it. Because like when you listen to it, I know it's different from reading. So when you reading it, the part they give you is long, but they give you a way to diffuse that at the end, and that's normally way short. It could be a couple
of transgression right there. The transgression is what goes against the law itself on how to deal with it.
Yeah, but it's super short compared to the chapter itself.
Correct.
And I learned when I was reading it, I'm like, so people go through this long extended thing that this is how they do this shit, and they didn't realize somebody could kill that shit in this with this short stuff.
Correct.
Because I like it, but I've seen people use it. I used that Sun Shooter, Art of War. You know, back in the day, it was that, and Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That was the 3 books you were supposed to read or whatever. And I realized people interpreted the part that they liked, but they didn't read the whole. They didn't interpret the other part. I ain't gonna say they didn't read the whole thing. They didn't interpret the other part. Because
I mostly recommend that book to understand human nature. Now, yeah, some people might try to take the book and just try to live it out and basically become this evil villain in their heads. But I recommend it to understand human nature, because oftentimes in the Black community, a lot of our parents aren't really teaching us how to maneuver as Black folks in society growing up. So at least that book in itself can be your own tutelage on human psychology in general, so that you can maneuver more effectively growing up in society.
you know what? It might sound weird I say it this way. I don't think that's human nature. That's just European culture. Because a lot of just from my experience, a lot of times even we put human nature as a thing, but it's usually European thinking.
You know, that could be completely correct, to be frank. 'Cause I mean, like, you know, when you start going outside of America, people are a bit. Actually, I ain't gonna even say they're a bit. They're really kind of the same. They just do it with a kinder presence, to be frank.
Well,
That's
I
been
mean,
my experience for us anyway. They just do it with a kind of presence. I could use Belize for an example if I want to be frank, because I just left Belize in October. And like in Belize, they speak English just like us. Actually, they look
yeah.
just like us. And I know Belize, I was in San Ignacio for a large part. And it's like it's the type of area like the darker skinned people are kind of treated less than, lighter skin is treated better than. They only treat you better when they realize you're American because your accent. And when you go to Belize City, which I spent some time in, it's more people who look just like us. There are skin tone. You have the Asians out there who are so racist you cannot even go in their store, and they only want your money. But the thing about it is, and I go back to San Ignacio, the people are very nice to you. Well, they're nice to you, but they are still kind of treating you like you're less than until they hear the American accent. Then they assume you got money. So a lot of the stuff when you start going out of the country in different areas, at least where they speak English, you notice it's the same. Even in Mexico, it's kind of the same. Now, it's been a couple of years since I've been in Japan, and I don't speak Japanese, but that's why I mostly call it human nature. It's like you kind of run into the same thing. Like I ran into it when I was in Malaysia. You run into the same thing, just done with a nicer veneer of kindness.
I get it. The reason I say it that way is because most of what you're talking about is European influence that created it.
Well, you know, Malaysia is mostly controlled by the Chinese. And
Yeah, but the Chinese were controlled by who?
well, you know, they technically speaking, like, you know, they bailed us out of our own. Well, they bought our debt years ago. I remember when I was in undergrad school, there was something we discussed,
Right.
like when we had all this debt and they took over it for us, which kind of meant they owned us to a degree. So I can't even say they're controlled by us when they bought our debt.
Not like okay. China used to be under Britain. Like maybe 35 years ago they stopped. Between 30 or 40 years. I don't know the exact date off the top of my head. Part of the reason why China grew the way it did is they grew after Britain left. Their growth comes from like a 30 to 40 year span.
I see.
Well,
So you're saying that they were influenced by the British? Is that
yes.
correct?
Yes,
I can believe that.
That's why they still have that color issue, because expect from China to, because you know China, Taiwan is the same damn people really. Malaysia is the racial aspect of it.
Yeah, Malaysia. Since I was there last year, the Malaysians are essentially a mix of Indian and Chinese, two races of people who both equally dislike us.
Right. And who was Indian influenced by? The same British.
Correct.
That's why Indians don't like like Afghans and Pakistan. They all the same damn people, but British people say you over here, you over here, you over here, and they're more influenced by British racism than they should be.
That's kind of why I always, even though people talk about America or whatever, being one of the most racist countries, which is true, at least for us. But I always put more credit on the British. I'm like, well, they did originate from there and they learned it from them. Those are the OGs.
Well, ironically, really, that's the Spanish.
Let's see.
The Spanish and the Portuguese was the first, really. Then the British took it to another level.
I see.
Because the Christopher Columbus quote unquote thing, that's Spanish, and then Portuguese. Because the reason why Brazil speaks Portuguese is because the Portuguese saw how can I say, the Spaniards, I think the Spaniards and the English went to Brazil trying to do the same shit in Brazil that they were doing through the Caribbean and in the lower part of quote unquote the United States, and they was getting killed. Columbus is Italian, but the voyage was Spanish. So what winds up happening was they was killed. Like the quote unquote Brazilians, they were the people who wasn't letting them get off the ships. They was gonna kill them. That was the group of people was like, nah, y'all did it everywhere else. Y'all ain't doing it here. So what the Portuguese would do was they was giving them gifts and trying to befriend them.
I'm gonna throw in something real quick. Since I did leave Belize in October, while I was there, during Columbus Day. They actually celebrate Columbus Day.
Yeah.
I was surprised by that.
What is the island? St. Kitts. That's where quote unquote Columbus was supposedly landed. That St. Kitts is actually supposed to be named after Columbus.
Let's see.
St. Kitts and Nevis. That's the thing. St. Kitts and Nevis. Because I used to date a girl from there. And she used to tell me about, oh yeah, that's where I was like, okay. But because it's closer to the bottom. So that's why I'm saying like they went to, those people started going to Brazil because they were closer to South America than North America initially.
I get you.
So it's like I remember those, like I read a lot of books. It's one book that I can't remember the title of. It's one book I can't remember the title of. It was about the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Let's see. Yeah, I haven't really read any of those war books. I don't really read those war books because it's just kind of documenting the glories of American war.
It was quick cliff note. Basically, it was two basically air battalions, right? That was going to drop, but one of them was going to drop the nuclear bomb. They didn't tell which group had it. So they got the bomber, all the fighter planes, the fighter jets, whatever it was at that time. They got two different sets going. And they find out in the air who has it and who don't. So they got pissed because some of the people didn't make it back because they used a bunch of people as a dummy mission.
Let's see. So they sent them on a suicide mission.
And yeah, they didn't tell them. Only one group was on a suicide mission, the other one wasn't.
Let's see. I can understand that. I was in the military myself, and I remember once it was a conversation that was had, and it was talking about, if they ever need to do a mission that was very risky, usually the lowest ranked person would get chosen. And at the time in that office, they thought I was the lowest ranking, which meant I would be chosen. But turns out I let them know, I'm like, no, I've been in longer than this person, which meant this other person would be chosen. Of course, my supervisor at the time said, it is up to their discretion. And I didn't really argue with them because it was hypothetical. Not to mention, I'm like, I'm not a fool. If we was in a situation like that, do you think I would obey that order?
Look, I got a good friend who got court-martialed because they got ambushed in the Middle East and the people that ambushed them were using the cows. The cows, the thing is cows and sheep, if I'm not mistaken. They were using those as covers, and they're not supposed to shoot the cattle because of the Geneva Convention. So they was pinned down because of that. And he was like, "No, I'm not dying because of no damn."
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. So they got some weird rules.
I highly doubt anything happened to him. When I was in, I was a
Mm.
part of special operations command, and I remember talking to this particular guy because he had lost a stripe temporarily, and I only use the word temporarily. I only pulled it for a few months, and that's because he lost his mind while he was on a mission and went on a killing spree and started killing everybody. So women, children, and the enemy.
Yeah. My friend, he did get court-martialed, but they wound up giving him an honorable because he basically saved his battalion. So he didn't have to go back, but they got rid of him because of that. Whatever it is, it is. Granddad, like I said, was in the Korean War. Yeah, yeah. I learned about some of them from Korean. My uncle's Vietnam vet. I got friends that was in Desert Storm. Like I get it.
I didn't see combat. I was just a part of a special operations command, but I didn't directly see it. I just remember I talked to the dude. He had a stripe pull. He told me why. He said because he lost his mind after he saw one of his airmen get killed, and he went on a killing spree and just killed everybody indiscriminately.
And that used to be okay.
Yeah, which to be frank, on paper he should have been executed for that because he went on a killing spree and started killing even innocent people. Because I said women, children, and the enemy.
Yeah, like look, man, like you know what? I'm not finna say that. Since you said I'm shadow banned, I ain't gonna say nothing that make it worse. Because some of the shit I know, they be like, "How would you know that?" Just for the record, people, if you get in the military, just get in the military. Don't ever think you could become a. How can I say this? Don't ever if you were ever in a situation where you could become a spy, just know that's probably not a good idea. Because they're gonna send your own people to get you.
I know a guy. I used to be friends with this dude. He was never in the military. He didn't speak on it much, but he did tell me that he did do some work for the government itself.
Some people think they're working for the government, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA. Understand, they might send some special ops to come get your ass. Same way they do in games where they go, hey, you know what I think he told.
I mean, it is kind of how you have crash dummies out. I learned a lot from listening to Tariq. He made a point which explained how there was this one guy who I knew growing up who somehow was still out on the streets, despite the fact that it really made no sense at all. Because he was literally a crash dummy.
Yeah.
And it's probably because of him being a crash dummy, he was just giving him information. Actually, I know he had to give him information. I feel confident about that because I remember one day I saw this guy who was a homeless dude. And I remember driving by and I actually saw him talking to an undercover police officer because I saw it was an undercover cop and he was talking to him, feeding him information.
Yeah. So years ago, I used to tell people about things that went on in the streets because I was around the streets before when I was a child, before my friends was even in gangs and around drugs. So I was around that stuff early. So by the time they thought it was, I guess, cool and fun and the thing to do, I was already burnt out of seeing it. So I had to explain it for them then and people now that a lot of your, how can I say this? A lot of the people that some of you young guys, like not your age, but like when you're teenagers, a lot of the people in these gangs that y'all join, a lot of the people that's the leaders are really rats. That like all the other people y'all think are really either was dead or locked up, and the person that you under somehow just the last man standing. No, that nigga a rat.
Well, I imagine it had to be the case for that one dude, because like I said, this one dude was just a straight up crash dummy. Out of his whole crew, he was the wildest, and out of his whole crew, he He was the only one who never went. Well, he didn't go to prison for a long time, and he's not dead. Because even his older brother had went away for many years, but he only did short terms when he went away. One of his friends, they gave him like double life. He used to be a friend of mine, but they do double life because he did a double murder. But only this guy, who was wilder than all of them, he only did short terms.
The street life is not for, like people don't understand. I know for a fact that a lot of y'all don't realize the reason why even y'all see some of y'all favorite rappers who want to say they was gangsters and emulate gangsters, the reason they got a weed problem and a drug problem is because they got an anxiety problem because they got hooked to somebody out to get them. They weren't really built for the streets like that. People who were actually in the streets didn't want to be high because you could get got like that. But the people who was, you out, you scared of getting arrested, you scared of people running down on you. People was doing, like, first it was cigarettes, and then people started doing weed to quote unquote ease their nerves. And people was drunk too. That was because they wasn't made for that lifestyle. And far too many people are like that. So when something goes left, of course these people tell it. They're not built for prison.
I don't know how that dude, since I mentioned it, like the dude I told you got a double murder. I don't really know how he managed to survive, but he somehow became a kingpin in prison, despite the fact that dude was weak as water. He did not know how to fight at all.
Prison is a different environment, man. Different environment. Yeah. A lot of time, like, I hate to say this, but a lot of time age plays. Sometimes it's age, sometimes it's reputation. Because older people, they can live off of stories that younger people don't really know. So now you got blind faith. You get what I'm saying?
That dude went in young. He went in a little after high school because I was in the military, but I heard he went in probably like a year after I went in the military. He went to prison for life, double life.
Like, and it is. I think he out now. Now that I think about it, he has to be out now unless he did something in there. When I was a kid, when I was a teenager, that was the first. That's when they started locking up. Well, it ain't the first time they started locking up teenagers, but when you try teenagers as adults, that's when they started doing that heavy. So I know a guy who came from a good family. He wanted to be in the streets, and he got into it with somebody and ran down on somebody, and the gun jammed. Back up. The gun didn't jam on that. He ran out on old boy, and old boy told him, "Yo, you ain't built like that. Go ahead, pull it. And if you pull it, you know what's gonna happen to your family." So then he ran. He started crying and he ran home. And he was so upset basically that he couldn't do what he wanted to quote unquote do, because a previous time they had shot at him. And then the gun jammed on that one. It started working and then it jammed. He got so mad that he couldn't quote unquote get his get back because he really wasn't built like that. He wound up killing the guy like a month later. And he got like 47 years at like 16 years old.
I guess he showed him.
No, it was a different guy. It was a different guy, had nothing to do with it. Different guy.
Let's see. I was talking to somebody earlier. I guess he showed that person that he gone away for the rest of his life.
No, I think he's out now because I graduated at 17. He was a year older than me, and when it wasn't federal time, it was state.
Oh, okay, juvenile life.
No, they charged him as an adult, so he had to do about 20 something. He has to be out now. And I know what you're talking about with the other thing, because I know a different situation where he dead now. He's one of my homeboys. He took the charge. He should have took the charge though. Him and his best friend went to a concert, and he saw some rivals and shot shot a Mac 11 through the concert trying to kill these dudes. Got in a damn police chase. And he got locked up because of that. But he was with his best friend, and he just took the whole charge because he was like, look, he actually, people don't realize niggas really don't really do that. That's a movie shit when people just stand on it that I did it. Usually they drag other people down with them. So he actually stood on it, and his homeboy, he was free because we thought he was locked up. When he was in high school, we thought he was done. He wound up coming back and wrestling with us.
Let's see. I know it happens sometimes. I remember some female who I ran into who was a complete hood rat, but she told me about how her dude got killed about somebody, and even though she said this guy did the job, said that the dude's brother, he just took the charge for him. I just assumed, I'm like, well, he probably knew he didn't have much going on in life, so he went ahead and just did it because he had already had some bodies, so it was just easy for him to just take the charge.
Yeah, that shit don't. Yeah. I don't know why people do that. You need to rethink that.
Well, I mean, I guess if you ain't really got no traction, you ain't really going that far, and you see this person probably got the potential to maybe become a kingpin, you might as well go ahead and sacrifice yourself. It was probably only a matter of time before he's gonna go down anyway.
You can't be even with that culture. You really can't be a kingpin in prison unless you was a kingpin on the outs.
No,
when you get out, you ain't gonna be shit.
Well, I was talking about dudes like that. These are dudes who are basically crash dummies. So it's like you might as well go ahead and just do it for them. You weren't gonna do nothing but go down anyway. You were just a crash dummy.
They gotta learn the hard way. I don't like the and I said this before. A lot of people who are really into crime, they soft. Like a lot of people
yes,
don't know
they are.
They
are. I told you that dude did double life. I know he couldn't fight because I know that I was once friends with this dude until him and his friends thought it was a good idea to jump me. And so I beat his ass while I got jumped. But that dude really could not fight at all. That's why I thought when I heard he went to prison, I'm like, man, he must be somebody's bitch. When I found out this dude became a kingpin in there, I was thinking, but how?
Setting people up. Like, like people don't get that part of it. But I don't understand the ideology because it's a waste of time. And people don't know how much of a waste of time it is because people don't realize the origin of it was by the time you became an adult, you was out of the game. That's how it really was. Like you was in a gang in high school, and when you graduated and got a job, you're not gang banging.
Yeah, that's usually how it is for a lot of them. That's just a high school thing. Once they become an adult and it's time to get a real job, that's all behind them.
But now you see guys in their 40s and 50s still gang banging. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I don't really see that for the most part out here. A lot of these cats really do have a job now.
Okay. What city you in?
Memphis, Tennessee.
Well, and I know it get wild out there, so that's a good thing that you don't see. Because in Chicago, it's still like that.
I'd say that they kind of cleared the area out here, though. They really did. Because it's I know folks say that Memphis is bad, but I would say that Memphis is a lot safer than it was than when I was young.
Memphis was cool, but I think Memphis cool. It did go. Shit would go down there, but I think they compare Memphis to Nashville, so it makes it look worse.
Because to me, it's crime out here, but it's just not. To me, it's a lot cleaner than it once upon a time was.
Yeah, I could see that. To me, crime is going down everywhere.
Well, it really has gone down everywhere. So that's not even just to you. The stats really prove it. Crime has gone down.
I look at it now that you have too many people purposely trying to be criminals, and I'm like, I don't know what you doing. Like, why are we doing this? He said Memphis got potential. The city just broke. Shit, every major metropolitan city basically broke in America now. Like, people don't. most American cities are broke. Just for the record, folks. America looks good in certain places, but it's broke. Believe me when I tell you.
Yeah, I mean, we do have like a multi-trillion-dollar debt, so America is broke. I mean, years ago I wrote a post on it. I mean, we run on fiat currency, and fiat is just a promise of paying you back.
The question is that people don't know who they like. When you said China has a debt, China don't have all of it though. China has like maybe a quarter of it, if I'm not mistaken. Because when China got it, it was smaller than it is now. Because I remember the debt started going up. Bush.
Well, I mean, that's kind of that is it. There's a major reason why Trump has created the whole writing certain degrees as being unprofessional, and the purpose of that is because the debt ceiling from college debt has gotten so high, and people are not paying back their loans. So they decided to put a cap on how much people can be loan money to go to school.
Yeah, but that's on them.
Yeah, that is on them. But
What?
I mean, I do believe that as adults, you're responsible. You have accountability. You have freedom. You have responsibilities. And it's also on the creditors, but the schools, because I know I checked out a video, I think it was by Lisa Cabrera. She said that like, because these were considered to be professional degrees, there was no cap on giving these people loans because they could get federal loans. And since schools looked at it as though the federal government won't run out of money, they would loan them as much money as necessary. And because the schools realized that these people would not run out of money, the cost of schooling went up substantially. So they have now written these how they become non-professional degrees to incentivize schools now to lower their cost of being reasonable.
See, I wasn't joking earlier when I said because black people started going to college, they raised the price. I was dead serious. People don't okay. I started college in 97. So So by the time I finished, from the time I started to the time I finished, I saw how they was raising the shit. All right. So, and I went to HBCUs. So I saw this beforehand, during, and after. Basically, because people don't remember, everybody didn't used to go to college. It was like the top 10 percentile in high schools. In a general sense, college was a whole lot cheaper. Then there was the thing where the admissions was lower because if people had more money, they could pay for their families could pay for it. That's why you have all of these older people who went to these prestigious universities that they consider prestigious now. They wasn't really that prestigious back then, except for the Ivy League ones. But the other ones, they really wasn't prestigious. What made these schools prestigious, honestly, was the sports programs. The sports programs brought so much attention to these schools that that was their reason for upping the tuition. The University of Miami was like a slash Ivy League school. It was like an off-brand, like Northwestern or Rice University or Cal. And Cal still like that, in Stanford. All of that shit happened because when they saw black people going to college more, they started upping the price. But the situation with black people in the 90s, most of us was going to HBCUs because of a different world. It wasn't the Cosby Show, it was a different world. And then in the 80s, that was the bringing black people to school thing, because that was how you saw universities make more money. That's when you saw Miami blow up. It was the 80s. Florida State. LSU was the SEC was already the SEC. It was just more racist back then. But you started seeing more black people in the Big Ten schools when they talk about the Power 5 schools. Because USC really beat everybody ass back in the day because they was like the first ones doing it. So once they got to that part, they started raising the price. Our school won a national championship. The price is going up. Our school has all of these great players. The price is going up because people forget that a lot of these great schools weren't using their scholars as a reason to go. You know, people go to Oregon because oh boy, is that Phil Knight? I want to say he went there. You know, people kept like the
Oregon, you talking about when you say Phil Knight, you talking about the coach?
No. I'm talking about the guy that runs Nike.
Oh.
One of the guys that either the founder of it or one of the major guys, I think it's the founder though. I forget his name at the time. He went to University of Oregon, and then, I don't think he graduated. Just like they use Mark Zuckerberg. He went to college, but he didn't graduate. It's rare that they use those guys as much. They were using their athletes more. So the athletes were basically making the schools bigger than they were, and they started charging the students. And it was a way to keep out black people because the price was so high. It was like only white people could afford it. That's why, you know, in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, a lot of black parents would be like, yo, we got to find a way to get you a scholarship to get to school because he couldn't afford it. Now, the flip side of that is where a lot of people got jammed up is because by the time admissions were letting more and more people in, you had too many young people who wanted to be out-of-state students. They didn't want to go to school in the state that they graduated in, so then they went to another state, so they double charged their ass. And that's part of the reason why the tuition is outstanding, because you gotta think about it. If like you said, you Tennessee, so think about it. If you could have went to Memphis, or you could have went to Vanderbilt, or you could have went to Tennessee State, or you could have went to the University UT, right? Because you in that state, you got that rate. But if I was in Illinois and I went there, I'm paying double what you pay because I really wanted to go.
So you said it made me wonder, because I know I was in the military, I used my GI Bill, and I went to ECPI. I don't think ECPI had that rule for us.
No, because you was a veteran. They use you as a veteran.
No, I'm talking about even for the people who were not veterans. But then again, the people who weren't veterans did live in the state of Virginia, so it didn't apply to them.
Yeah, because I remember, because ironically, I applied to go to Tennessee State too. It was one of the colleges I applied to, and I would, how can I say this? I wound up using that same out-of-state program to become an in-state student in a different state that I didn't graduate in. So I learned the ins and outs of that, like in the 90s, early 2000s. So a lot of these cats, they don't realize, that part of that student loan debt, it has a racial aspect, and it backfired on white people. It backfired because it was more white students that went to school than black people. And it's cool to get you got this debt, but now, you got this degree, but you owe $100,000. It don't add up.
Yeah, especially since college debt is the one thing you cannot file bankruptcy on.
They took that away from y'all. You used to be able to do it.
I didn't know that you ever was able to do it for college debt. Let's see.
There was a time, because they changed something else. They changed that it became a thing, and then the other thing that happened behind it was they started adding college debt to your loan application if you wanted to buy a home. So that's why that's part of the other reason why people who got college debt, they couldn't buy homes. It wasn't as affordable because they started adding your college debt into your loan application. They didn't do that at first. Because I didn't because one of my homeboys, a couple of my homeboys work in banks. So when they first started doing it, he was telling me about it. He said, man, this is about to get ugly, dog. So I know me and you got close to a 10-year difference. I know life is different for you than it is for me. Because I started seeing how they started messing with it.
I'm gonna look that up.
I'm gonna Google it now. College loans. Because bankrupt, I remember bankruptcy used to be different. Yeah. It's a part of it changed in 2022. I know it goes back further than that, though. Because I don't know, like, you remember, like, when the 80s?
Yeah, it does say it. It says yes. Yes, in the past. Man, I hate this screen keep flickering. Let me move it to the other. Says yes, in the past, student loan debt was treated like most other consumer debts and could generally be cleared through bankruptcy. This changed due to a series of legislative amendments starting in the mid 1970s that made student loans much harder to discharge. Before 1976, student loans were generally dischargeable in bankruptcy proceedings, just like credit card debt or medical bills. 76 and 8 and 78, the first restrictions were introduced. 1990s to 2000, subsequent amendments progressively tightened these rules. 2005, Bankruptcy Abuse Prevention and Consumer Protection Act further solidified the protections for nearly all federal and most private student loans. And well, as you know, today, student loans are treated differently than most of the unsecured debts. To have them discharged in bankruptcy, you must typically file a separate legal action, and an adversary proceeding prove that repayment would cause an undue hardship.
So, because here's the irony, because if I'm not mistaken, bankruptcy was different when I was a child than it is now. A lot of the people who had like money, property, like, you know, assets, some of those people filed bankruptcy, and you got to keep the house, you got to keep the cars, you got to keep the money. You just filed bankruptcy. You didn't have to pay those debts at all. That was the thing people was doing in the 80s. It stopped in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. Because there was a time when it was like, oh, when black people start doing it, they gonna kill that shit. And black people started doing that shit, and then they were like, no, you can't do that. That's what, like when they say they make the laws a little bit more stringent, they was changing it along the way, but people was getting away with that shit for a very long time. I had to, because I used to wonder as a kid, and it was like, yeah, they filed for bankruptcy. I'm like, so how they still live there though? Like when they say somebody bankrupt, that's what it basically meant. I don't have it. Let me go. They started adding stipulations and rules to it. Like, no, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you know. And then they had their rule where you could file bankruptcy, but it was on your credit report like 7 years, and then it got wiped clean. That's like all that extra stuff started coming over time.
I didn't know that when I was there. I thought that was I was there. Cause I know when I was a little kid, my mother filed bankruptcy, so it ruined her credit for 7 years. But from what you're saying, that was a new thing.
Yeah, they weren't like some of the things you see in America now are just revamped versions of shit. But they keep, like, people was getting away with a whole lot more than they get away with now. You know, did they screw us as a group? Yeah, but the shit that they were letting people get away with, it was astronomical. Like the things that we consider normal now, if it was somebody, let's just say, that was 40 years old in 1980, in 1990, they couldn't live in this era because the reins are so tight on shit. The shit that they used to be able to get away with was crazy. You gotta remember when you said your mama filed bankruptcy, that was an era where you could put that shit on, you could put shit in your kid's name. You know, kids had apartments, credit cards, phone bills, electric bills, all kinds of shit. They didn't care like that. But yeah, times have definitely changed. But let me get out of here, man. I gotta get my mother from the airport in about 3-4 hours. So I'm gonna try to take a nap. I appreciate everybody that was rocking with it. And if I'm up here, man, if you come up, you're welcome anytime. Just let me know, man.
All right.
All right, man. Have a good one. Everybody, catch y'all on the next one, man. Peace.
It looks like a job for Superman.
Do this,
Spoken from the lips of the young or the old, there are many.
Yeah. Gotta put it all in.
And there are Supermen.
All the way. I guess I'm taking off the cake through the glasses in the trash. Being super is great, saving y'all is such a drag. Even God took a break, me I ain't coming back. I got one life to live, if you don't like it, that's your ass. Cause nobody saved me, plus when I'm drunk, I'm just a peon. I could use somebody just like I'm the kings of neon. This world is cold as ice, mixed with salt, mixed with freon. They got me pissed off, but that's better than being peed on. For eons, human beings took kindness for weakness. When you constipated, you start to appreciate shit. Put before you life and death, and you just gotta choose. The kryptonite life means you should follow the rules. If your credit's messed up or your bills ain't paid, then it's getting disconnected. Can't nobody say the day. And I can fly, leave a building in a single bound, but I can't stand fair weather friends, and I just fly around. My super friends is Justice League. Only folk I kick it with. Kill Lex Luthor, so what? We had to finish it. Kids play games and adults play for keeps. And me, I play to win, but I ain't playing in these streets. And life is not a joke. Then again, it ain't this serious. Superman can say the day, but God can say the Superman. Saga of the kryptonite life just ended. You enjoy listening? Man, I'll finish it. Lois, come holler at me. I got an iced couch. Thank you for coming out, listening. I knew you would like it because we made it. I'm so frigid and so fly.